Yeah, ora.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with our misdemeanor first appearance calendar. If you are let me see, if you're a victim or a witness or a family member here to support an individual, please make sure your video and your audio is off, and we will let you join the proceedings when when the case you're interested in addressing is being considered by the court. All right, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Judge Law, and this is going to be our misdemeanor expedited accusation calendar for today, November 29th, 2024 at 2 p.m. These are cases involving individuals who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, their cases were formally accused by the prosecutor, who would be the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, please remember these particular rights. First, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. So please exercise your right to remain silent. And if you have something to say about your case, please say that privately with your defense attorney. You have a right to a defense attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Again, I'll remind individuals, if you are not a defense lawyer or a prosecutor or courthouse staff, please keep your video and audio on mute and switch off your video. You can join the proceedings when you are addressing the case. So, Mr. Jordan, if you can switch off the video for a Javon. I'm not sure who that person is, but thank you. All right. Let's address courtroom 2. And
I'm sorry, Judge. Position number 5, Mr. Bryant.
Mr. 5, position 5. Okay. Who is my pretrial officer?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Washington? Okay, good afternoon. All right. And Ms. Washington, what's our reset date for these cases?
December the 12th, Judge.
December 12th? December 12th? Oh, okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Washington. I realized I should have directed that to Mr. Jordan. That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Okay, folks, let's begin with position number 5. We are addressing Jeremy Bryant. Mr. Bryant is accused of stalking, family violence, and terroristic threats and acts, a misdemeanor offense. Alleged incident date is from June 17th, 2024. Case number 24CR 007864G. Mr. Bryant, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Bader. Ms. Washington, any priors on Mr. Bryant?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's second arrest. The last arrest was in 2019 for driving while license suspended or revoked. There is a hold out of Monroe, Georgia for a forgery case, and that warrant date is July 22nd of 2024. The defendant does meet the criteria for UJR jail. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff, good afternoon, and what's your recommendation?
Yes, good afternoon, Judge Law. My recommendation for the stalking family violence charge is a $1,500 surety bond to have no further contact with the victim in this case. Her name is Daneria McClain. That's spelled D as in dog, AINERA, McClain, common spelling. To stay away from 613 Saratoga Drive in Alpharetta, Georgia. For count 2, the state's recommendation is a $1,500 bond for the defendant to take a mental health evaluation and treatment, as well as to have no further contact with the victim, Daneria McClain, and to stay away from the same address, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. Just briefly, Your Honor, on June 17th, 2024, Miss McClain informed officers that the defendant tried to contact her at her job. She showed the officer a text message that she sent to the defendant saying, "Are you crazy coming to my job?" And he replied, "I'm gonna show you crazy if you keep avoiding me." The defendant then went to Miss McClain's mother's house looking for her, and then told her that he would be going to her grandmother's house next. Ms. McClain also showed officers text messages from the defendant of him saying that he would hunt her down for the rest of the time that he's in Georgia. And he said that he didn't want her in the text messages. Rather, he wanted revenge. And he stated that she would die if she went to an unknown place. Our office did get a chance to speak to Ms. McClain today. She confirmed the events listed in the warrant, and she also let us know that they are in a relationship. Despite them being in a relationship and having contact since then, I think the allegations in the warrant are serious, so that is the reason for today's bond recommendation.
Thank you. Ms. McClain, I do see that you're on Zoom. If you want to address this proceeding, you're free to start your video and unmute. Otherwise, I'm moving on to the defense counsel. Ms. Bader, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bryant is 23 years old. He has a good address at his late grandmother's house, where his aunt also lives. All of his immediate family is in Georgia. He doesn't have anywhere else to go, so he is not a flight risk. He is a high school graduate, and he's also employed, a productive member of society. He works for FedEx as a delivery driver. I understand the nature of the charges. As you heard, Ms. McClain is still in a relationship with Mr. Bryant. We would ask for no further violent contact in this case. The warrants are from June 17th, 2024. It seems like there's been no concern since June at this point in time. And it's my understanding that they have goals of continuing a relationship. It's my understanding that they were also together when he was arrested, and she was also surprised at that. So at this point, I believe pretrial did mention that Mr. Bryant does qualify for a signature bond through pretrial. That's what we would be asking for today. Thank you.
Ms. McClain, if you'd like to appear and verify that you would like to continue to have contact with Mr. Bryant, otherwise I'm going the other route. Well, apparently not. Okay. On the stalking and the terroristic threats is going to be 2,500 each count. That's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services through level 2. Ms. McClain, did you want to address the court? You need to unmute. You need to unmute. All right. As I was saying, it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. Mr. Bryant, unfortunately, you've got a hold in Walton County or City of Monroe. So once you're released on bond, you can only be released to the hold. Once you have resolved your hold in Walton County, you would need to report to pretrial services twice a month. Ms. McClain, this is the last call for you to respond. Okay. No further contact with Denaria McClain, which means that from this point onwards, you're to stay 200 yards away from Ms. McClain, and you're not to communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You are to stay away from 613 Saratoga Drive in Alpharetta, Georgia. If you attempt to communicate with Ms. McClain, even if she initiates contact, but if the authorities find out, Please understand that you can be arrested and brought back to jail and your signature bond revoked and amended to either a surety bond or a cash bond. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And within 7 days of being released from all holds, including the Walton County hold, you are to enroll and complete an evaluation and treatment. I'll give you the option of whether you want to do a BH or an MH evaluation. Please understand that unless the prosecutor hears from Ms. McClain, you are to absolutely have no contact with her. They monitor all conversations from the jail, so please do not engage in any kind of contact with her from the jail either. All right, we will see you. We will see you in court. Make sure we have a current address. We will send you your next court date. Thank you. Next case, please.
Sorry, excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. McClain?
Sorry, the video or the mute wasn't working. Sorry.
Are you driving?
No, I'm not driving.
Are
I'm
you
just
driven?
sorry.
Is your car moving?
No, I'm sitting in the car.
All right. Raise your right
Um,
hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
What would you like to tell us?
I did want to continue the contact.
Why?
Because this is the person that I pursue to be in a relationship with.
What happened from between June and today?
Sorry, the thing cut out.
What happened between June and today when you reported this matter to the authorities that he was terrorizing you?
The only thing that I wanted to stay away from my mother's door. I never said that I wanted to press charges or anything like that.
Ma'am, warrants were taken out for this young man. He has now got an arrest record for misdemeanor charges. I'm not certain at what point during your conversation with the police you indicated you didn't want to press charges, but the decision to press charges is not with you, it's with the prosecutor. So at this juncture, this young man now has 2 very serious charges against him involving domestic violence. So I still don't understand your response about what happened between June to the present time.
The only thing that happened was we had a conversation about the whole incident and we've been fine from then.
Okay.
There hasn't been any other incidents like it, and there wasn't any incidents like it before.
All right. I'm going to amend this to no further violent contact with Daenerys McClain, but he's still required to stay away from 613 Saratoga Drive, Alpharetta, Georgia. Again, Mr. Bryant, you will be released to the Walton County hold only. And once you resolve that, you need to report to pretrial services twice a month. And no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. You will be subject to random screens by pretrial. If you have to take any prescription medication, make sure you show that to the pretrial officer so they can make a record of what drugs you're allowed to consume. Again, you to enroll in a BH or an MH evaluation within 7 days of being released from all holds. Thank you. All right, Ms. McClain, you're free to go.
Position 1 and 2, Travis Bell.
This is State versus Travis Bell. Mr. Bell has 2 separate cases from 2 separate incidences. The first one is 24 CR 7839J. He's accused of fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer and driving while license suspended or revoked from November 10th, 2024. The second case is 24 CR 7866J, in which he's accused of theft by receiving stolen property. Incident date November 28th, 2024. Mr. Bell, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Ms. Bader. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 32nd arrest. The last arrest was in December of last year for theft by receiving stolen property in Clayton County. That case appears to be open. There was a 2007 felony conviction for theft by receiving stolen property and misdemeanor conviction for fleeing. and it appears that the defendant is currently serving 18 years on probation for that case. There were theft by receiving stolen properties in the 90s, felony convictions for that. 2015 felony conviction for theft by receiving stolen property out of the cab. 2018 felony conviction for theft by receiving stolen property and theft by taking out of Cobb County. There were arrests in 2023, 2 separate arrests for driving while license suspended or revoked. No disposition was listed for that, and the defendant does meet the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff,
Yes.
what's the
Yes,
recommendation?
Your Honor. For the fleeing and eluding and driving while suspended license, well, for count 1, fleeing and eluding, the state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond for the defendant to not drive without any valid licenses, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. For count 2, driving while license suspended, it is a $500 surety bond, as well as no driving without a valid license, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Just briefly, Your Honor, on November 10th of this year, officers observed a red Toyota with no license plate. When they ran the plate, when they stopped the car and ran the plate, it was just fixed on the car in a different area. The plate came back with a suspended license, and that the plate belonged to a Miss Feltina Barnes. And while officers were conducting an investigation of the defendant's identity, the defendant started the car and fled the scene. Officers were flagged down to a parking lot, and they found the car sitting in between 2 trailers, but the defendant was no longer on scene. As for the theft by receiving stolen property charge, that incident, that has an incident date of yesterday, Thanksgiving of this year, and officers in the warrant noted that the defendant was in possession of a stolen stolen vehicle tag reported out of Chamblee. The Chamblee Police Department. It belonged to a Noywaw Swinton. That's spelled Noyaw. Swinton is common spelling. And the state's recommendation for that charge is a $1,000 surety bond and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Ms. Padir?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bell is 53 years old. He's been living at the same address for 8 years. So he would certainly get notice in the mail for court. He was raised in Atlanta. His ties to the community are all here in terms of his family. He lives with his cousins and his aunt as well. He is a high school graduate, and he is employed. He works at an auto body shop.
Oh dear.
Judge,
Okay.
Judge, we're asking.
Go ahead.
We're asking for count 1 for the bond not to exceed $1,000, and for position 2, the theft by receiving, we're asking the bond not to exceed $500.
On position count 1, the fleeing and attempting loot, that's a $1,000 surety. The driving while license suspended or revoked, that's a $500 surety. And the theft by receiving stolen property, that's a $1,000 surety. His total bond is going to be $2,500 for both cases. That's a surety bond. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, current valid driver's license. I don't care from which state. Adequate insurance for the vehicle being driven, and the proper license plate and registration for the vehicle being operated. His next court date is December 12th for both cases. Thank you.
Position number 14.
I see we have a Spanish interpreter. Do the attorneys need to confer with the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor. I have both of the Spanish interpreter cases. They are positions 7 and 8 on the calendar.
And are you the only PD today?
No, it is also Miss Jenks is here.
Okay. Oh, I think I did see Ms. James. Okay, good. All right.
Miss James is interviewing the client of the Grading Hospital right now.
Okay. You said this was position 14?
Correct.
All right. This is Carl Laventure, accused of terroristic threats and acts from November 2nd, accusation 24 CR 7848F. Mr. Laventure, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Bader. And any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor, this is the defendant's 20th arrest. The last arrest was in October of this year for probation violation. In 2012, there was the first offender treatment for aggravated stalking in Fulton County. In 2016, the defendant pled no to willful obstruction and criminal trespass. 2017, felony conviction for aggravated stalking and burglary out of Fulton County. There was an FTA in 2020, and there appears to be 2 open cases, one from an arrest in October of this year for giving a false name, drug-related objects, possession of marijuana less than an ounce out of Fayette County. Also, the second open case appears to be from an arrest in February of this year for giving false name, possession of a drug-related objects, willful obstruction, and possession of a Schedule I controlled substance. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Bader? Oh,
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident took place at the Fulton County Jail where Officer Bryant was working her shift. When the defendant began shouting and saying that he was going to rape her, beat her up, and once he was released from his cell, he further proceeded to say that he will slap the FUCK out of your HLEASS. This was all caught on the officer's body-worn camera, Your Honor. For that reason, and given the extensive criminal history of the defendant, the state is going to ask that you maintain the bond at a $5,000 surety bond. I would ask for no further contact, but that may put more restriction on our victim, given that she works at the jail. So we would say no further violent contact with our victim, Officer Bryan, Bryan, first initial A.
Ms. Bader?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly regarding the allegations. I understand that there was a situation where a separate inmate was throwing feces on that floor, and I think there was a lot of commotion from a lot of other people as well on that floor. Mr. Laventure does vehemently deny these particular charges. I just wanted to make that for the record. Additionally, he does have a good address at 100 Black Rock Court. He does own that house. His parents live with him, and as does his grandmother, for whom he is a caretaker. He also is a college graduate from Georgia State University. Judge, we're asking for the bond, not $1,000 bond in this case.
Bond is set at $2,500 if it's a surety bond. Next court date is December 12th. No further violent contact or communication with Officer Bryant, as well as the rest of the Fulton County Rice Street Jail staff. Thank you.
Position number 11 is next.
This is Sean Ryan Folz, 24 CR 007-845C, accused of 2 counts of battery family violence from November 26th of this year. Mr. Folz, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Bader. Ms. Washington, any priors?
Yes, Your Honor, this is a defendant's 4th arrest with multi-state interaction in Georgia and in Tennessee. The last arrest was in January of this year for a DUI out of Gordon County, Georgia, and that appeared to be reduced to a non-fingerprintable charge. There are no other misdemeanor convictions listed, and the defendant meets the criteria for level 1.
Thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. So on November 26th of this year at 3372 Peachtree Road, this is the Elora Buckhead building. Officers arrived and they spoke with the defendant, who stated that he was in a dispute with his wife, Miss Tatiana Cano, and he wanted her to leave the residence. When officers spoke with Miss Cano, she advised that the defendant had gotten violent with her. He tends to get violent with her when he drinks, and on this particular night, they were arguing, and he tried to grab her phone and grab her Apple Watch. The defendant did grab Miss Cano's arm, and the officers noted a red bruising to her left wrist. And officers also spoke with their son, Mr. Dominique's. His last name is spelled Sepulveda. And Dominic told officers he didn't see anything because it happened in their bedroom, but he did hear arguing. He did state that the defendant punched him in his arm after the argument with Miss Cano, and the officer did note bruising to his shoulder. So because of this, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond on each count of battery, to have no further contact with Miss Tatiana Cano, as well as Mr. Dominique S. For the defendant to complete 8 hours of anger management and to stay away from the incident location at 3372 Peachtree Road.
All right. I have a couple of unidentified people on Zoom, so just going to call out Tatiana Cano and Dominic Sepulveda. If you want to address the court, this is the moment to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Bader, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. In terms of the no contact and the stay away, we would object to both of those. It's my understanding that his wife is currently staying with her friend from work. Mr. Folz doesn't have anywhere else to stay. His sister has also been in contact with Mr. Folz. It's both of our understanding that his wife does want contact. So we're asking for no violent contact. I'm not sure if the state has had the opportunity to speak with her. Judge, in terms of Mr. Folz, he completed some college and a trade school. He works at Quantum Coatings. So he paints schools and businesses. He's a paint contractor. This is only his 4th arrest. Judge, we're asking for a signature bond through pretrial level 1, or for the bond not to exceed a total of $1,000.
All right. Again, calling for Mrs. Cano or Mrs. Folz. All right. On count 1 is going to be a $2,000 surety bond. On count 2 is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. This is going to be a $4,000 split bond. Once Mr. Folz, your next court date is going to be December 12th. Once you pay the $2,000 portion, either out of your own pocket or through a bonding company, you'll be signing out on the other portion through pretrial services. You'll be reporting to pretrial twice a month. Within 30 days of being released, you are to enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. And this is a 26-week program that you will pay out of your own pocket. And you're not allowed to skip any classes. You will complete the classes and present the certificate to your pretrial officer. You're to have no further contact with Tatiana Cano and Dominic Sepulveda. If they wish to have contact with you, they will contact the prosecutor's office and have the bond amended. You're also to stay away from the marital home. You may return one time only to the marital home in order to retrieve your personal belongings. But within 30 days, you are to update the court with your new address, which cannot be the marital home. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And of course, if Mrs. Cano and Mr. Sepulveda have vacated the marital home, then you would need a court order to amend the bond so that you can return to the marital home. But until that happens, please understand, no contact with them. and to stay away from the marital home. Update us with your new address. Thank you.
Number 12, Mr. Gibson.
State versus William Gibson, accused of violating a family violence order from November 4th, 2024, under accusation 24 CR 7846J. Mr. Gibson, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Vadir. And any prize, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a defendant's 13th arrest. The last arrest was in October of this year for battery, family violence, and cruelty. That case is an open pretrial case, and we will be surrendering the bond for that. The case number is 24 CR 007-256J. There's a 2009 felony conviction for forgery, as well as a 2011 felony conviction for possession of cocaine with intent to distribute. An FTA.
No, that's good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Mr. Jones, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Just wanted to make the court aware the officers responded to 57 Hardwick Ave, where the victim, Kiana Tinch, allowed the defendant to come over to put their child to bed. Ms. Tinch did have mail company over and was awakened to the defendant yelling at her in the mail company. According to Ms. Tinch, the defendant threatened to spare the parties, which was the same motive in the 24 CR 007-256J case. During the encounter, the defendant informed Ms. Tinch that he had no further contact with Ms. Tinch, as she was unaware. She then called the authorities and he fled. Again, this happened back on November the 4th. For that, the state, he was actually issued the bond order by you, Your Honor, and that was a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services on October the 25th of 2024. The state's recommendation is going to be a $2,000 cash bond, Your Honor.
Ms. Vadir?
Yes, Judge. In terms of the facts, he doesn't have to clarify, he doesn't have a stay away from that particular incident location. Additionally, Mr. Gibson states that she has been attempting to reach out to him. I understand that the court can only govern Mr. Gibson, but just for the record, and that she has attempted to come to his residence, making it difficult and complicated. He's concerned about his dog, who he has at home, who he fears hasn't eaten since Tuesday. He doesn't have any living family. So he gets money from disability, and that's how he pays his bills. He has a good address at 1363 Elizabeth Avenue Southwest. It's just him and his dog there. And so, when I had a conversation with Mr. Gibson, we kept coming back to the dog, which I understand why, but he's very concerned about that. He gets disability for seizures, a back condition, and asthma. He has several physical complications that I think would make the jail very dangerous for him, considering the DOJ came out recently and the Fulton County Jail is violating the Constitution in several ways in terms of the living conditions. That would certainly be unsafe for Mr. Gibson in particular. He's presumed innocent on both of these charges. He doesn't have any other incidents since 2009. So for that reason, we are asking, I'm not sure if pretrial will take him, but if pretrial isn't willing to take, we would be asking for a signature bond. If not, then the lowest respectable bond in this case. Thank you.
Kiana Tinch, if you are on Zoom, I don't know if she's one of these. Kiana Tinch. All right. With respect to the prior case, 24 CR 007-256J, as a result of this new arrest, Mr. Tinch's signature bond through pretrial is surrendered and is going to be amended to a $5,000 surety bond. That's an unfortunate circumstance of being arrested again. That order expressly states that Mr. Gibson is not to have any contact with Kayana Tinch, and that he's to stay away from 1363 Elizabeth Avenue unless it is verified that the alleged victim does not live there. Ms. Tinch is not here. I have no verification that she does not live there. For the present time, his bond on this new case is going to be a $5,000 surety bond. His total bond is going to be $10,000. Again, Mr. Gibson, if you didn't get the memo the first time, you are to stay 200 yards away from Kayana Tinch and the child that you share with her. I will address you very shortly. Right now, I need you to pay attention to what I'm saying. You need to pay attention. Good. You are to stay 200 yards away from Kayana Tinch, no matter where she is. If she initiates contact with you, you are required to disregard that contact, put the phone down, switch the phone off, shut the door. I don't care. But you are required to make sure you do not have any contact with her. You are not to have any contact with the child or children that you share with her. You're required to file a legitimation action in order to obtain any kind of contact with the child or children you have with her. These were expressly spelled out in your older case, and now I'm going to reiterate them for this new case you have. Unfortunately, because of a new arrest, you do not qualify for a signature bond. That is a consequence of getting arrested again. All right, your next court date is going to be December 12th, 2024. Please unmute courtroom 2. Mr. Gibson, I'm going to remind you again, you have a right to remain silent. The reason that is a constitutional right is so that you can avoid making any incriminating statements that would make it difficult not only to present your defenses, but make it very difficult for your attorney to represent you. Now, would you like to exercise your right to remain silent?
Yes, I got one thing to say. I have video.
You do not want to exercise your right to remain silent. Go right ahead.
I got video of her coming to my house. I'm not going to her. She's trying to mess me up. I'm not, I didn't even know I had a warrant, so I got my ID ran.
What do you mean you did not realize you had a warrant? What does that mean?
I didn't know they had a warrant out for my arrest. They ran, I had one of the officers run my ID.
Okay.
I didn't know this was took out on me. I've been at my house. I haven't been around her.
Unfortunately, Ms. Tinch is not here to verify what you're saying. So we're going to keep this as the present bond.
But you let me out. I can show you video of her pulling up at my house.
Please share that video with your defense counsel.
I can't. It's at my house. I got a video of where I can send it to him. I'm not did nothing wrong. I've been following all my rules.
Have you enrolled in a domestic violence program?
I'm on disability.
You're required to enroll in a domestic violence program per your last court order. Have you done so?
She's trying to do all that, get me legitimized for my kid and everything. I'm supposed to see her on the 3rd. For my Ms. Brown, my last signature bond.
Who are you supposed to see on the 3rd?
Ms. Brown.
He's his pretrial officer.
My pretrial
Not his pretrial officer.
I didn't even know I had this.
Okay.
And Judge, and just to clarify, and Mr. Gibson, I think she's got it. And just to clarify, he's speaking about the incident date is about 25 days ago. So that's what he means.
All right, let me just look at something now that I finally got access to the warrants.
So he wasn't arrested on scene.
And Your Honor, that is correct. He was not arrested on scene.
No, I got that. I'm just trying to verify something.
Okay.
The allegation is this was at 57 Hardwick Street, so it was not at the Elizabeth Avenue. So he needs to stay away from 57 Hardwick Street. Okay.
Correct. The Elizabeth Avenue Street is where he lives, and the 57 Street is where she lives.
All right. So the allegation is that he came to Hardwick Street. And the allegation is that he had contact with her and with the child. All right. Mr. Gibson, according to the warrant, it has a diametrically opposite version of events. So because of the different version of events, I'm going to require you to make sure that you speak with your attorney, and then they can bring it up in state court. But presently, your bond remains the same as I've already indicated, and we will see you on December 12th. Thank you. Yes, courtroom 2, please unmute.
How's my dog gonna get fed and stuff?
Contact someone from the jail who will be able to assist you.
I don't have nobody I can contact. And I wasn't out there doing nothing stupid. I was out there minding my own business.
All right.
She's just mad because I won't do nothing for her. That's why she keep calling on me. She can't get no money out of me or nothing.
So you went to the Hardwick place?
No, I didn't go to her place.
Sir, that's what the warrant says. The warrant.
I know it's saying I went to there. I didn't go there.
All right, that's what I'm saying. We have two different versions of what happened. We cannot resolve it today.
No, I catch what you're saying. I just wanted to take care of my dog.
But there, you might want to call Fulton County Animal Control to check on Elizabeth Avenue location to see if there is a pet there and how they can retrieve the pet. Thank you. Next case, please.
Grant.
Who do we have, courtroom 2?
Number 13, Grant.
13, thank you. This is Dwayne Andre Grant, accused of battery family violence from July 9th, 2024, case number 24CR7847G. Mr. Grant, you have been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Ms. Bader. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 12th arrest with multi-state interaction in Virginia, Georgia, and New Jersey. The last arrest appeared to be in August of last year for alien inadmissibility, which was turned over to ICE. There was a 2013 felony conviction for aggravated assault in DeKalb County, and it said no contact with Chastity McCluskey. A 2005 felony conviction for aggravated assault in New Jersey. There are also other felony convictions listed, but they are not battery related. And he meets the criteria for level 2.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident took place back on July 9th of 2024, where officers were dispatched to 661 Provident Place. Upon arrivals, they made contact with Miss Chelsea Williams. Ms. Williams stated that she was asleep and was woken up to the defendant screaming after going through her phone on Instagram, and she was struck to the left cheek by the defendant. We did have an opportunity to speak with the victim in this particular case. The victim, and she informed us that they were in a relationship together, but they do not live together. They share one child. She confirmed the events in the warrant, but stated that the defendant attacked her while she was sleeping. The victim stated that since this incident, the defendant has been calling her and sending her threatening text messages. The victim stated that she has since moved from the location to another location that she believed to be unknown by the defendant. However, the victim stated that on her birthday, which was November the 7th, the defendant sent her flowers to her residence. The victim stated that she does not know how the defendant found her, but that she is in fear for her safety. She stated that she does not want contact with the defendant and wants him to stay away from her residence of I'll put it in the chat, Your Honor. And
You can
also,
put in the chat to Mr. Jordan.
okay. And she said that she was going to be present on the Zoom.
Ms. Chelsea Williams, if you would like to address the court, please unmute and start your video.
I don't know why it's not letting me. Hi, I am here. I'm not sure why it's not. It said you cannot start your okay. Hello, how you doing?
Good. Please
Hi.
raise your right hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. Do you want contact with Mr. Grant?
No, I do not.
All right. And well, that's all I needed to know, really.
Do you is it okay if I state other things?
If you want to, I'm just going to go with what he's charged with right now from June 9th of 2024.
Okay, well, I am asking for a mental health evaluation from him. I would have gotten a protective order against him, but I don't have an address to serve him for the protection order. I wasn't able to do that. But yes, I am asking for a mental health evaluation.
Do you
for
have
him.
personal knowledge if he's obtained any kind of MH treatment or counseling?
I've begged him to get some.
Miss Williams,
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
Please listen to the question.
Yes, ma'am.
You have personal knowledge that he has ever sought or undergone MH treatment or counseling?
I don't believe he's
Okay.
had that
Anything
before.
else to add besides the MH issue?
No, ma'am, that's it.
All right, thank you. Please mute your screen. Ms. Patel?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Grant is 38 years old. He does have his GED. We're fine with the stay away from the incident location. Judge, it's my understanding that he helps pay for the child through Apple Pay, which goes directly to her. So I'm not, I guess with the no contact, then there will be an understanding that that'll have to cease since that's a form of contact. I guess I just want to make sure that there's a third party transfer of the child. If there's a no contact order with her, it's my understanding that he's involved in his child's life.
Okay.
And would like to continue to be. And Judge, we're asking for a $1,000 surety bond maximum on this case. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Williams, if you'd like to unmute and start your video, do you have any comment about contact with the child?
Yes, ma'am. He also threatened her life as well during the incident. I also with the mental health, I definitely believe he has a mental health problem. I do not feel safe with her. He's never been around her.
Ms. Williams, let me
yes,
ask you just two questions. Number
Mhm.
one, is this child born or out of wedlock?
Yes.
Out of wedlock.
Out of wedlock. Yeah.
Has Mr. Grant filed a legitimation action with regards to the child?
No.
All right. Please mute your screen. Thank you. Mr. Grant, on this present situation, your bond is going to be set at $4,500. It is a surety bond. The conditions to your bond, put your finger down and listen carefully. Your bond, the conditions to your bond are no further contact with Chelsea Williams and no further contact with the child or children that you share with her. If you wish to have any kind of contact with the child or children that you share with Ms. Williams, you would need to file a separate legitimation action in the appropriate superior court where you can get a court order to establish joint custody, visitation, as well as child support. As you are required to have no contact with Ms. Williams, that would also include termination of any kind of payments that you are sending to her. Your payments can only be established through a court order requiring you to pay child support, and that would be through a legitimation action. You are to stay 200 yards away from Miss Williams and the child. You are not to communicate with them in any way, form, or manner. Furthermore, your next court date is going to be December 12th at 9 a.m. if you're unable to make bond. I don't see him. I do see that he has a current hold, but I'm not sure with which jurisdiction. Miss Washington, do you have any indication that he has a hold?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
All right. If he doesn't have any holds, then he would need to make his bond. All right, unmute courtroom 2. Mr. Grant, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. If you choose to waive your right to remain silent, I'm sure that's going to be against counsel's advice. So you decide.
Yeah, I waive my right to not to remain silent. I wanted to clarify the fact that me and Miss Williams is married, and we got married within the first year of the child being born. So,
Where were you married?
Alabama.
And do you have a marriage certificate?
She has it.
All right. If you have a marriage certificate and that you're in fact married, then I guess then that would waive your right to a legitimation. But presently, based on what Miss Williams is telling me, you are not to have any contact with her and with the child. If you wish to have contact with the child, you might want to file a separation suit instead with proof of marriage, and then the court order can establish your joint visitation, custody, as well as child support or temporary support for your wife.
All right. She also has a lot of belongings for me also that I would like to get returned.
You would need to file a separation suit or a divorce action, and you can go through the property settlement at that point. Just FYI, if there is a valid marriage certificate in place, once you're released from bond, you can go to the appropriate government agency and get a copy of your marriage certificate.
Okay.
Now, thank you. That concludes this hearing.
And Judge, if they are, it's my understanding that he has parental rights. I don't think he has any current
That's why,
charges.
understood, but based on the allegation by the victim, I'm going to require him to either file a separation suit or a divorce case and get a court order for temporary visitation. Whether it's supervised or unsupervised, I do not know. Thank you. Next case.
Okay. Number 23.
Ms. Williams, you're free to go.
Thank you.
This is Esther Primc, case 24CR7859J, accused of simple assault, simple battery, and public indecency from August 21st, 2024. Ms. Primc's accusation is 24CR7859J. Ms. Primc, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Rachel Jenks.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon. Ms. Washington, any priors?
Yes, Your Honor, this is the 11th arrest with multi-state interaction in Florida and in Georgia. The last arrest was in August of this year for a probation violation in Gwinnett County, 2022 felony conviction for 2 counts of neglect, a 2024 misdemeanor conviction for theft of services, 2024 misdemeanor conviction for driving while license suspended or revoked. For possession of drug-related objects. And the defendant is currently serving a 12-month sentence on probation, and the defendant meets the criteria for level 2. Nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Ham, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Your Honor, this case stems from an event that occurred on October 21st, 2024. The defendant approached the victim, Yash Sonar, unprovoked, and punched him 3 times in his left arm. She then proceeded to spit on him and hit his glasses instead. In addition to that, the defendant was observed in public with her dress hiked up with her lower regions exposed to the public, Your Honor. Based upon that incident and her arrest cycle, the state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond on each count and to have no further contact with Yash Sonar.
Thank you. Is there a Yash Sonar on Zoom who would like to be addressed? Ms. Jenks, anything to add?
Judge, Miss Primc is 35-year-old. She's been in Atlanta for 5 years. She did attend school up to 10th grade and then got her GED. She does have family here in Atlanta, Judge. So she's got some infrastructure here in Atlanta. She is close to her children's grandparents. She had been working at Waffle House. She was in Gwinnett's custody for the past 4 months, 10 days, Judge. But I understand that case has been closed out. So she plans to either go back to Waffle House or Burger King. We're asking for a signature bond as pretrial recommended on level 2.
On the simple assault is 500, on the simple battery is 500, and the PI charge is 500. A total bond is going to be 1,500, and that's going to be a surety bond. The next court date is December 12th. No further contact with Yash Sonar, SONAR, to stay 200 yards away from, I think it was First Drive, 311 FERST Drive. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. Thank you. And Ms. Jenks, if a social worker visit is warranted, I'll let you make that decision.
Okay, Judge.
I'm sorry, courtroom 2, does Ms. Primc have a question for her attorney? No?
No.
All right.
Position number 18 is next.
All right. This is Michael McCrae, accused of theft by receiving stolen property from November 27th of this year. Accusation 24CR7852Y. Mr. McCrae, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Ms. Jenks. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 17th arrest. The last arrest was in August of this year for an FTA. 2015 misdemeanor conviction for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. 2021 misdemeanor conviction for violating a protection order. And the defendant is currently serving 9 years on probation for a 2024 felony conviction for aggravated assault and possession of a firearm. The defendant was sentenced on October 4th of this year. There is a hold out of Live Oak, Florida for an FTA. The warrant date is May 10th of 2021. And there is also another FTA from 2021. The defendant meets the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
The 2 FTAs? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. So on November 27th, officers were dispatched to 794 for a suspicious person called. Officers had a report that someone on the construction site was trying to break in or steal items. Upon making contact with the defendant, officers noticed an Apple Mac desktop and the belongings of the defendant. Through a power cord, officers were able to plug in the device and found out that the login name registered to a Nina Sanfendor, and that's spelled Sandefur. And Ms. Sanfendor reported a burglary to her residence on November 21st of 2024, in which clothes and a Mac desktop was taken. The username, make, and model number all matched the numbers that Ms. Sandor gave officers on that particular day. Your Honor, due to the defendant's criminal history, the FTAs, and the open warrant out of Florida, the state is extremely concerned of his risk, of his flight risk, his risk of reoffending. Therefore, the state will ask for a $2,500 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond, and a stay away from the stay away will be necessary, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Jenks?
Thank you, Judge. I mean, I think that there's probably some kind of motion to suppress the stop in this, Judge. If you heard, it sounds like the tail wagging the dog in terms of the language in the recitation of Mr. Jones's narrative there, based on what the officer said in terms of a suspicious person. And also, Mr. McCrae had nothing to do with the burglary. They just stopped him essentially in the street and then searched him. We're asking you to consider a signature bond. It sounds like he's got a few other stops. He is 30 years old. He completed the 11th grade. He is from Atlanta, Judge. He has some very serious health issues that I don't want to go into detail in open court here. but we are asking you to consider a signature bond in this case. If not, we're asking for $1,000 surety bond.
Bond set at 1,000. It's a surety bond. Unfortunately, he does not qualify for a signature bond due to his prior FTAs. His next court date is December 12th. If he does make bond, he's required to maintain a current mailing address with the courts at all times and to report to court when summoned. Thank you.
Our next case is position 26. Yes, Your Honor.
I heard 26. Would that be correct? Is this Derek Sharp?
Yes, ma'am.
This is case 24 CR 7865Y. Mr. Sharp is accused of theft by shoplifting from November 14th of this year. Mr. Sharp, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Miss Jenks. I'm sorry, I just got a little. All right, that's fine. Miss Lucia, if you need to, we'll wait for you. And I think she needs to log out and she'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, thank you. All right, going back to Mr. Sharp. Any prize, Miss Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 58th arrest. The last arrest was in September of this year for theft by shoplifting. That case appears to be open. There's a 2015 felony conviction for entering auto and misdemeanor conviction for theft by taking. A separate 2015, a 09 misdemeanor conviction for theft by shoplifting. There are other arrests and felony convictions that are listed, not theft related. There are also, outside of the 10-year period, there were felony convictions, mostly drug-related, robbery, and escape. A 2002 felony conviction for entering auto, as well as an 05 felony conviction for entering auto, theft by receiving stolen property, and willful obstruction. 2016 felony conviction for possession of cocaine, as well as a misdemeanor for willful obstruction.
That's good.
2000.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, Ms. Washington. Mr. Ham, do you have 3 prior theft by shoplifting convictions on his record?
No, Your Honor. I was only able to locate the one prior theft by shopping out of Fulton County, 09 CR 002358. He does have other theft cases, but they're mostly theft by taking or theft by deception.
What? And what's your recommendation for this one?
Your Honor, based upon the facts of this particular case and his criminal history, the state's recommendation is a $2,500 surety bond to stay away from all marshals and to have no drugs, weapon, or alcohol on his system. The allegations are that on November 11th, 2024, he walked into the marshals located at 5932 Roswell Road, and he proceeded to leave that location with approximately $121 worth of merchandise. This was all captured on surveillance video. They were able to connect him to that his other open theft by shoplifting case out of Duranville, because he also went into that marshals and committed the act of theft by shoplifting. So based upon his risk of reoffending, which it's pretty obvious at this point, the state is asking for the $2,500 surety bond, stay away from all marshals, and no drugs, weapon, or alcohol.
Ms. Jenks?
Yeah, thanks, Judge. I mean, first and foremost, he's obviously presumed innocent, Judge. The cases of Doraville are still open, so those are not convictions, like the state may have led you to believe there. He is 53 years old. He graduated high school. He actually has a job at City of Atlanta with the Parks and Recreation Department. He's been working for them full-time for the past 5 years, Judge. He also lives with his wife and has custody of his 4 grandchildren, 4 boys that are 7, 9, 10, 2 10-year-olds from 2 different relationships there with his kids, from his kids. Excuse me. We're asking you to allow either a signature bond or $1,000 surety bond, Judge.
Bond instead of 1,000, it is a surety bond to stay away from the marshals at 5932 Roswell Road. In fact, he's required to stay away from all stores that are marshals and their sister stores such as TJ Maxx and Home Goods. He is to report to his next court date is going to be December 12th. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Yes, Mr. Sharp, you have a right to remain silent, but if you choose to waive your right, then anything you say can and will be used against you.
Well, I suffer from prostate cancer stage 4, and
Beg your pardon?
I suffer from prostate cancer stage 4.
You suffer what?
He suffers from cancer in his prostate, stage 4 cancer, Judge.
All right.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, my I take care of my boys, you know what I mean? You know, I try my best to take care of my boys and stuff, you know what I mean? And make sure they're straight,
Mr. Sharp, you have 58 arrest cycles.
I know that, I ain't been getting no trouble. I ain't like to you. I've been
And
working.
I set the lowest bond that I can set, that it would be make you eligible for a surety bond.
But can I go take care of my case in Cal County?
You can make bond and then you can go take care of what you need to.
I can't pay my bond, Mom. I'm saying, can I go
reach out to your family.
I ain't got no family, just me and my boys. I need to go take care of my kids.
Married with the kids.
They're his grandchildren, Judge. He does have a wife.
Then
my girlfriend, I'm saying she need me. I need to go to Cal County, take care of my cases. I can get out.
You don't qualify for a signature bond. You don't. You have to look at your past, your arrest cycles, the allegations. You have an open case. You demonstrate a likelihood to reoffend. We will see you on December 12th if you don't make bond. Thank you.
Next is position number 15, Mr. Lemon.
This is Cedric Morris Lemon, accused of simple battery and theft by taking from August 25th, 2024, accusation 24 CR 7849J. Mr. Lemon, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Ms. Jenks. Ms. Washington, any priors?
This is a defendant's first arrest, Your Honor, and meets the criteria for UJR jail. Nothing further.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is going to be a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services to stay away from the address and no further contact with Cedric Lemon Sr.
What? And could you give me the address, please? I'm afraid I didn't write that down.
Yes, Your Honor. I thought I had it written down. I can find it really quick.
That's okay. I'll get it as soon as you have it. Ms. Jenks, any objection to the signature bond with stay away and no contact?
No, Judge. I mean, this is his father. I don't know if the state's actually had an opportunity to speak to him in terms of the contact. And I'm not sure. We need to ask Mr. Lemon if that's his household or if it was someone else's household. I apologize.
Cedric Lemon Jr., are you on Zoom? If you are, this would be a good time to start your video.
This is the junior in the courtroom.
Junior's my client, Judge. Senior is the alleged victim.
Yeah, sorry. The alleged victim. No, it's not. Okay.
Mr. Lemon, was that your household that this happened at, or was it someone else's?
I was at my dad's house.
Okay, so there's no problem with the stay away, Judge.
All right. Mr. Jones, any update on the address?
Yes, Your Honor. It's going to be 55 Milton Ave.
Is that in Atlanta or some other suburb?
That's in Atlanta.
Okay. All right, Mr. Cedric Morris Lemon, on the simple battery family violence, it's going to be 1,500. On the theft by taking is 1,000. Your total bond is going to be 2,500 signature bond through pretrial services, which means that you can sign up for your bond, but you'll be required to report to pretrial once a month. You have to have no further contact with Cedric Lemon Sr., which means that unless you have a court order amending that condition, you are to stay 200 yards away from your father and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. I don't see him on Zoom, and I don't have any verification that he wants to have contact with you. So at the present time, if you believe that contact is warranted, you would need to speak with your attorney, and they would need to file a motion to amend this bond order. You're also required to stay 200 yards away from 55 Milton Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. You are not to be seen within 200 yards of that location. no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And within 30 days of being released, you are going to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. This is a 26-week program. It will do you good. And I want you to make sure that you attend those classes and pay for those classes and not skip any. Thank you. Now Mr. Lemon, if you wish to say something and waive your right to remain silent, please remember that anything you say can and will be used against you.
I do waive that right. I was trying to avoid it. Like, I can just really apologize. I know this is gonna be a lot for this type of situation, but I'm trying to avoid like anything.
What are you apologizing for?
Oh, sir, don't, Judge, I'm going to caution him from responding to that question, Your Honor. With all due respect, Judge.
Please let this man know with his first arrest on record that anything he chooses to say, he will lose any opportunity. Listen, now he's so stubborn, he's not even listening. He's not even listening.
So, Judge, I wanted to just ask.
Tell him, Ms. Jenks, tell him what happens if the state decides to move forward with prosecuting instead of giving him PTI or an opportunity to resolve this and remove this off his.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Lemon, don't speak. Judge, I do want to just address the bond condition that you've put on for Mr. Lemon's release. I just want to let you know that it's a simple battery, which even if he was found guilty at some point or took a plea would not dictate the family violence intervention plan, the 24 weeks. If Your Honor is interested in having him do something related to anger management, I'd ask you.
Management does not help family violence issues.
But this is his dad. This is his first arrest. And 24 weeks is a very laborsome.
No, it's not.
Requirement for this kind of case.
Not, it's not. If you get into family interactions that turn allegedly violent, domestic violence intervention program proves to be more good. Anger management doesn't resolve the issue. And if Mr. Lemon if he does the DVIP, the prosecution may consider it as part of a PTI program, and he may possibly resolve this without this being on his record. So I highly encourage someone like Mr. Lemon with no prior arrests to take advantage of this opportunity and try to get the case resolved with commitment and remorse. And him saying in open court that he's apologizing for this event is simply undermining his credibility and giving the prosecution more ammunition to find him guilty.
Okay, Judge, we're actually not sure what he was apologizing for. I was just stopping you before it got any further. But he actually denies the allegations, and there are some extenuating circumstances with his father in terms of mental health issues and very serious physical issues that he has. So he's denying the allegation. But again, Judge, we believe that having him do the DVIP course is first not the appropriate recommendation in terms of a requirement, and also is just extremely laborsome for him being his first arrest.
He's not paying for a bond. He can pay for DVIP. Thank you.
Number 16, Mr. Matthews.
This is Spencer Matthews, accused of pointing or aiming a gun or pistol at another from November 26, 2024. His accusation is 24 CR 78508. Mr. Matthews, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Jenks. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 11th arrest. The last arrest was in 2008 for a probation violation. There is a misdemeanor conviction from 2000 for simple assault, as well as 2002 misdemeanor conviction for disorderly conduct and simple assault. In 2004, the defendant received first offender treatment for false imprisonment, battery, family violence, hindering a person from making an emergency phone call, terroristic threat, and kidnapping, as well as misdemeanor CWAG. And that was out of Coweta County. That was sealed in 2009. And the defendant does meet the criteria for level 2. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place on November 26th of 2024 where officers responded at 7257 Park Lane Bend in reference to a fight with a weapon, Your Honor. Upon arrival, officers spoke with the defendant's brother, and his name is going to be Victor Montgomery, common spelling, and the defendant's girlfriend, Berna Nevelis, and her first name is going to be Verna, last name is going to be Nevels. And both parties informed officers that the defendant was under the influence, and upon arriving home, because the defendant's girlfriend spoke to his brother, he accused the brother and the girlfriend of being intimate with one another, Your Honor. From there, he pulled a gun from his waistband and went around to the window and pointed it at his brother through the window. Your Honor, we did have a chance to speak to the brother, Mr. Montgomery, and he stated that they do not live together. However, the victim confirmed the events in the warrant. He said that this is the first time the defendant has pointed a gun at him. However, he does believe that the defendant would have pulled the trigger. The victim stated that the defendant does not need a gun, and the victim stated that he does not wish to have any contact with the defendant, and that he will not be attending the Zoom. Your Honor, given the seriousness of these allegations, the state is going to ask for a $15,000 surety bond, no further contact with Victor Montgomery or Berna Nevelis, to stay away from the 7257 Parkland Bend and Fairburn, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. I understand that Ms. Verna was not the direct victim, whereas the gun was not pointed at her. However, she was one of the involved parties in which he was accusing her of having an intimate relationship with her brother. So we feel the protection is needed for the both of them, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Miss, what was the name? Nevels or Mr. Montgomery? They're both not on Zoom? No, right? I don't think so. All right, Miss Jenks?
Judge, from the paperwork that I saw, actually, I don't believe that law enforcement retrieved any kind of weapon. I could be mistaken unless the state has something more, but from what I looked at, there was actually no weapon.
The only thing alleged is that one of the victims claims he's hit the firearm. So that's all we've got on the warrant.
Right. So Mr. Matthews denies the allegation, Judge. It sounds like most of his arrests were very old, or his convictions were very old. He's 48. He's been in Atlanta for the last 9 to 10 years. He did get his GED from, in terms of finishing high school. I'm sorry, Judge, I have a cold, so sorry about the interruption. He does repair crates for Google. He's been working full-time doing that for 2 to 3 months. In fact, he's very, he actually needs to be able to work this weekend. He's supposed to be at work tomorrow. He has his family here, who is his sister and 2 daughters. One is 25. The second one is 19, a senior in high school that he helps to support. We are asking Your Honor to allow a signature bond in this case.
The bond can be set at $2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Victor Montgomery. No further contact with Berna Nevels, to stay away from 7257 Parkland Bend in Fairburn, Georgia. And more importantly, no weapons and no firearms. If he owns any firearms, they shall be surrendered to the police within 48 hours of release for destruction. He is not allowed to own any firearms on his person, in his home, in any vehicle he occupies, or anywhere within his reach. Courtroom 2, please unmute. Mr. Matthews, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you.
I have one thing to say, ma'am.
What?
I have one thing to say. I was staying at that place where my brother came. That's where I pay my bills. That's where I lay my head at. And
are you a owner of the property?
No, my ex-wife is, but I pay her money.
Are you on the lease?
Yes, I am. I give her money every week. I pay $200 every week to stay there.
You cannot stay there anymore, so it's up to you to decide whether you want to contribute any more to that housing. But within 30 days of being released on bond, you will update the court with a new mailing address, and it cannot be the Parkland Bend location. You're not allowed to live there.
FYI,
The next court date is December 12th.
Your Honor, the state will also ask for no alcohol, consumptions and
Yes,
random screenings.
that's going to be in there. No alcohol and no illegal drugs. Thank you.
Ma'am, could I have one more thing to say?
Sure.
The bond, how much you say my bond was again?
2,500 surety bond.
So that'd be like 250?
I don't know what bonding companies charge. They charge between 10 to 15% of the bond amount.
All right.
Thank you.
Can I have my the lawyer contact my sister to do the, because she got my sister's number.
All right,
So,
Jane?
I will, sir. I've got it here.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 17, Mr. McGathy. Okay.
Terrence Justin McGathy, is that correct?
Yes. McGathy.
McGathy, all right. Mr. McGathy is accused of criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. His accusation is 24 CR 7851F. Mr. McGathy, you've been advised of your right to remain silent and to counsel, and your attorney is Ms. Rachel Jenks. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor, this is a defendant's 40th arrest cycle with multi-state interaction in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Maryland. The last arrest was in June of this year for larceny of a motor vehicle, breaking and entering a motor vehicle, and possession of a stolen motor vehicle. And that case appears to be open in North Carolina. There was a 2015 misdemeanor conviction for theft by shoplifting, 2017 misdemeanor conviction for shoplifting. There are several misdemeanor convictions outside of the 10-year period, including fleeing, disorderly conduct, assault, as well as felony convictions outside of the 10-year period.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is going to be a $1,200 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location unless therefore for treatment purposes only.
Ms. Jenks?
I mean, that's the irony, Judge. He was actually there to get help at the Emory Hospital. So he was actually seeking treatment there.
He was
We're asking
actually
you to consider a
discharged.
signature bond, Judge, in this case.
All right.
He's
was
recommended
discharged,
level
Your Honor.
1.
All right. Anything to add, Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. So he was discharged at the time and he refused to leave. And once officers tried to apprehend him, he then grabbed into the bed rail to prevent the officers from performing his duties.
All right, thank you. On count 1 is 500. On count 2 is 500. It's $1,000 surety. Stay away from the Emory Midtown Hospital unless he's got a verifiable appointment with a healthcare provider or he is seeking emergency medical treatment. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Next court date is going to be December 12th.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Deputy Milton, good afternoon. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I do not have the position numbers for these two young ladies, but I have Miss Bullock and Miss Durden.
Miss Bullock and who?
Durden, D-U-R-D-E-N.
Okay. B-U-R.
D as in David.
Oh, Durden. Okay. Yes, that would be positions 6 and 9. I'll be with them very shortly. Let me just go with courtroom 2 and then we will see. Okay.
Yes. Oh, and one more thing, Your Honor.
Yes.
For Miss Fonton, I'll be logging on a county phone, so we can do the Zoom from the pod.
I'm sorry. What's the announcement for position 10?
Miss Fonton,
You're right.
You have to do her on the county phone, Zoom.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Number 22.
This is state versus show. It begins with an X. So I hope I'm not mispronouncing this, but it's Shisa Nwange, case number 24CR007854F. Mr. Nwange is accused of simple battery. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Jenks. Any tries, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's ninth arrest with multi-state interaction in California, Texas, and Georgia. The last arrest was in January of this year for aggravated assault, battery, and false imprisonment. And that case is open in Fulton County. There was a 2020 arrest for threat, family violence in Texas. No disposition was listed, as well as a 2021 arrest for assault, bodily injury, family member in Texas. No disposition was listed. A 2022 arrest for assault, family violence. No disposition was listed on that either. And lastly, a 2023 arrest for assault, family member, felony, and no disposition was listed on that, and that was out of Texas as well. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 2. Nothing further.
Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. This case stems from an incident that occurred on, October 22nd, 2024. The victim in this case indicated that her boyfriend, which is the defendant in this case, had met her at a restaurant. The victim indicated that they began to engage in a verbal argument before he pushed her into a wall and began punching her several times, including once in her head. This incident was captured on video surveillance and was witnessed by the workers in this case, Your Honor. The pending felony case that he had for aggravated assault was against the same victim that was issued in January of the same year. In that bond, it was indicated that he was to have no further contact with the victim in this case. However, 10 months later, he's again in contact with the victim and then subsequently picked up another aggravated assault charge that is still open in Fulton County, Your Honor. And I'm also not mistaken, I believe he also had an ICE arrest from being in this country too long. I believe that's the indication of the arrest. I think that's the case out of California. It was actual ICE hold for staying in the residency for longer than he needed to be. So based upon all of the incidents that occurred in Texas, the incident that occurred with the same victim earlier this year, and the subsequent aggravated assault case, which are still pending, the state is asking for a $7,500 cash bond, to have no further contact with the victim in this case, to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol, or firearms while he is out on bond.
Ms. Jenks?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Nguyen is 33 years old. He is a high school graduate. He completed a 5-year course at the National Wildlife for a National Wildlife certification in his country of origin. He's been in Atlanta for over a year now. His stepfather is here, and I believe he lives with him. The stepdad has lived here 7 to 8 years. He's an artist and works on commission, Judge. We're asking for a $2,500 surety bond.
Given the fact that Mr. Nwange is a multi-state offender, he's got 2 open and recent pending felony cases, one of which involves the same victim and is apparently an alleged violation of a bond order. The bond is set at $5,000 cash bond only. No further contact with Miss Chilton? Noma?
Yes, Your Honor.
Nomagugy. Last name is Chilton, Chilton. Stay away from 1110 West Peachtree Road in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And his next court date is going to be December 12th. Thank you.
Judge, can you tell me the amount of the cash bond again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
$5,000.
Okay.
Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Number 24.
This is State versus Jeremiah Rick Maiden, accused of simple battery family violence from August 2nd, 2023. Mr. Rick Maiden, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Ms. Jenks. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
This is the defendant's first arrest, and the defendant meets the criteria for UJR, jail, nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Hemp?
Your Honor, the state is asking for a signature bond, $5,000 signature bond, either through pretrial or through jail for this particular case. It's alleged that on October 11, 2023, he got into an argument with his partner at that time. The alcohol was involved, so we would ask that he refrain from no alcohol. He's alleged to have pushed the person he was in an argument with or lift him up over the bed and try to move him, in which they begin to argue with each other. They begin to snatch items from each other, and this was a due arrest. So both parties of this interaction.
No. And I believe the alleged victim, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't write down a lot of this information. My auntie was really having a good time with me, but is he Dajun Lyons, is that correct?
Yes, DAJUHNLYONS. I don't believe he's been picked up yet on his warrant.
All right. On the Ms. Jenks, on the simple battery family violence, it's going to be a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1, a 1-day anger awareness program, and no further violent contact with Dajun Lyons. Thank you.
All right.
49, Weaver.
This is State versus LaShawn Weaver, accused of criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from November 28th of this year. Mr. Weaver, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Ms. Jenks. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 8th arrest. The last arrest was in 2004 for an FTA. There were arrests in the 90s for willful obstruction and criminal trespass, which appeared to be dismissed. There was a 04 misdemeanor conviction for simple assault, public indecency, and public drunk. The defendant meets the criteria for level 1. Nothing further.
When was that FTA?
The FTA was in 2004. That was the last arrest.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hemp?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on November 28, 2024 at 1117 Lee Street Northwest at the Texaco gas station. The defendant was asked to leave several times by the owner of the gas station. He refused to leave. Police responded to the scene. He was asked to leave again. He refused to leave. They made an arrest. And he began to ball up his hands, snatching away as the officers attempted to place him under arrest. So based upon the incident and his history, Your Honor, we are asking for a $1,500 surety bond to stay away from the incident location and to have no further contact with the owner, which is Marcerio Bentley, MACARIOBENLLEY.
I'm sorry, Marcerio Bailey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there Mr. Bailey on Zoom? No? Okay. Ms. Jenks, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through trial level 1. Is Spot Street his current address?
We have to ask him, Judge.
All right, he's nodding his head.
Okay.
Mr. Weaver, even though it's a Texaco gas station and you see a lot of cars and people going in and out, it's still private property. And when they tell you to get out of the property, you listen. Otherwise, you get an invite to come to jail. And from this point onwards, you are to stay 200 yards away from the Texaco gas station at 1117 Lee Street. You're not to be in the store, on the parking lot, in any of their carports, and on the sidewalk, and even across the street. You're not to be anywhere near that property. Otherwise, you'll be welcomed back at Fulton County Jail. Presently, you have a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. You have to report to pretrial once a month. And if you get arrested again, or if you fail to report, your signature bond will be revoked and you'll need to pay for that bond the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Your next court date will be sent to your current address. Thank you.
Judge, what's the breakdown on the bond?
1,000 on each count, so it's a 2,000 signature bond to pretrial level 1.
Okay.
Judge, I wanted to make you aware that I have spoken to Mr. Mayor on position number 19. He's not going to be brought to court because he's at Grady, but he has waived his appearance. And I just want to let you know that we can address it when you're ready.
Unfortunately, I need that in writing. Would you be able to provide that in writing when you're ready?
That I'm not going to be able to do because
All right.
I only was able to speak to him over the phone.
With him?
Well, I can sign it with express permission, I guess.
Okay. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Number 20, Milton.
This is Philip Andrew Milton, accused of simple battery family violence from November 28th, 2024, case 24 CR 7853Y. Mr. Milton, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Ms. Jenks. Ms. Washington, any priors?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 8th arrest. The last arrest was in 2005 for reckless conduct, unlawful discharge of a firearm, and firearm discharge on a Sunday. No disposition was listed. There are misdemeanor convictions from the late 90s and early 2000s, but nothing simple battery or family violence related. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 1. Nothing further.
Did you say discharge on a firearm on a Sunday?
Yes.
My God, I haven't even come across that law. Okay, Ms. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. The states understand the defendant's lack of recent criminal history. So the state's going to be asking for a $4,000 SLB through pretrial services, no further contact with Ms. Nadia Milton, and to stay away from 800555 Wilkerson Lane. Your Honor, just very briefly, upon arrivals, officer made contact with Ms. Milton, who is the daughter of the defendant. She informed officers that the defendant attempted to give her nephew a haircut. However, she believed it was too late. The defendant then put the nephew in the high chair and proceeded to take him to the bathroom. Ms. Milton tried to stop him. That's when the defendant began pushing the victim, grabbed her left arm and twisted it. That was a third party who tried to intervene, Your Honor. And that is when they fell on the couch and the defendant was still trying to swing at the victim.
Ms. Nadia Milton, are you present on Zoom? This will be the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Jenks?
Yeah, thanks, Judge. I mean, he denies the recitation of the narrative as the state just provided to you. Mr. Milton's daughter actually lives with them, and she had actually initiated the physical contact, so much so that I believe that law enforcement asked if he wanted to be taken for some medical attention as well, Judge. Mr. Milton's a retired Army veteran. He also worked as a barber and a chef over the years. I believe that, and we'll have to ask him, I think that incident location is actually the house that he owns with his wife. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am. My daughter, she stays with us. We allow her to stay there until she saves enough money. So
okay, you can just stop there, sir. So I believe, I mean, he said to me when I was interviewing him, Judge, that she has moved out. But that is his house that he owns with his wife.
I understand that. I just need to know whether the alleged victim is still occupying the property.
Right. I don't believe that she is. I don't know if the state has spoken to her or not, but my understanding is that she is not living there, according to his
Mrs.
wife.
Milton on the Zoom by any chance? No. Okay. All right. Mr. Philip Milton, your bond is going to be set at $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 1. You can sign out on a release bond, and you're required to report to pretrial once a month. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no. I'm not done, sir. Have a seat. No illegal drugs, no alcoholic beverages, and no weapons and no firearms. If you own any firearms, you are required to surrender them to the authorities for destruction, as you are now charged with a family violence issue. You are allowed a one-time visit to 8055 Wilkerson Lane in Palmetto, Georgia. Your first visit must be with a police officer for two particular reasons. Either to verify that Miss Nadia Milton no longer occupies the property, and once verified, you're allowed to go back into the property, or if she still occupies the property, then you're to retrieve your personal belongings and update the court with a new mailing address, because you won't be allowed to live in that property until she vacates the premises. So it's very important that Mrs. Milton, if she's present, to verify that. Otherwise, it's an either-or issue. All right? You can return to the property once Nadia Milton has vacated the premises with her child. Until then, your next court date will be sent to either the Palmetto address or your new address, depending on the circumstances from your first time visit. No further contact with Nadia Milton till then. Thank you. Courtroom 2, please unmute.
Nadia, the child is her nephew. That's my grandson. She doesn't have any children.
Oh, so that's not Nadia's child? Okay, then.
That's my grandson, and it wasn't too late for him to have a haircut.
All right, sir, you don't have to go into the facts of the case.
Yes, ma'am, I apologize.
It's not necessary.
I just wanted to know whether she was living there.
She's not.
Yeah.
All right, good. Next case.
Number 25, Rose.
All right. James Ross Jr. is accused of criminal trespass, sale of a model token from November 28th at 24 CR 7861E. Mr. Ross Jr., you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Jex. Any prize?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 36th arrest. The last arrest was in.
That's all I need to know. Thank you so much, Ms. Washington. Thank you. Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant in this case is accused of entering the MARTA station after receiving a permanent ban issued on November 25th, 2023. He was located at the 5 Points MARTA station on November 28th, 2024. Violating that ban, he additionally entered the location without paying any fares. The state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond on each count, so $2,000 surety bond, and to stay away from all MARTA locations.
Thank you. Ms. Jex?
Judge, Mr. Ross is 57 years old. He only went through the 11th grade in high school. He has lived here in Atlanta. He does landscaping. Essentially, any bond is tantamount to no bond for Mr. Ross at the moment. He does have some family here, but we're asking you to consider a signature bond in these charges.
On the criminal trespass, and that's going to be a 500 surety. On the sale of a model token, that's going to be a UJR. So his current bond is a $500 surety. Next court date is December 12th. Stay away from all model property. Thank you.
Number 27, trailer.
Rodney Trailer is accused of battery from November 28th, 2024, case 24 CR 7855E. Mr. Rodney, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Jex. Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's 7th arrest. The last arrest was in 2021 for a probation violation in Clayton County. There was a 2019 misdemeanor conviction for criminal trespass, family violence, and interference with custody out of Fulton County. A 2022 first offender treatment for aggravated stalking, and the defendant is currently serving a 5-year sentence on probation with Clayton County for that. And there was a 2020 misdemeanor conviction for criminal trespass in Clayton County. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 1. Nothing further.
Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on November 28th, 2024. The victim in this case is the defendant's nephew. And the nephew claims that the defendant came home, noticed some crumbs. They got into a verbal argument, and the defendant punched him in the face and caused him to have a laceration on his lip. They then proceeded to get into a tussle. Shortly thereafter, and the defendant is accused of grabbing him by the back of his neck and throwing him into the ground. Based upon that incident and his criminal history, Your Honor, we are actually asking for a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial to stay away from that incident location and have no further violent contact with Savion Bradley, the victim in this case, Your Honor.
No.
His
Mr.
criminal
Jenkins,
history doesn't seem to have any crimes of violence. So based upon that, it's mostly
other than the aggravated stalking that he's on probation for.
yes, other than the aggravated stalking, the state will still agree to a signature bond. We did speak to the defendant, the victim in this case. He seems to now come up with a different reason and indicates that he was the aggressor and he may have actually pushed the victim or the defendant first. So we need time to figure this out. So based upon his recitation of the facts now and what was in the warrant, we're going with the signature bond.
Ms. Jenks is going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further violent contact with Savion Bradley. Thank you. Next court date will be sent to his current address. Is it Lavender Lane or is it Peter Street? Because I have 2 different addresses.
Mr. Trailer, which one is it?
No, I cannot speak.
Lavender Lane.
Lavender Lane, okay.
All right.
Can I speak?
So you need to be quiet. It's Mr. Jordan, his current address is 733 Lavender Lane in Atlanta, Georgia, 30311. Okay, the person who is a Zoom user, you need to lower your device and unmute. Lower your device and unmute your screen if you want to.
I think it was someone else, Judge, the person on the iPhone.
Is that person involved in this case?
I'm not sure. It was the iPhone 3.
Okay, all right, and let's move on. Thank you.
Wait. Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God.
It is speaking. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it.
Can you start your video?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Savion Bradley mother.
Take your hat off and fix your top.
I'm sorry, my voice is gone.
Fix your top. Cover your shoulder.
Top.
All right, and what's your name?
I'm Shamika Trailer, Savion Bradley mother.
Raise your right hand.
Yes, ma'am.
That's your left hand. Or is the camera reversed? Okay.
You said sorry.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is Savion Bradley?
He's 16 years old.
15 years old?
16.
16. Okay, what do you want to tell me?
Savion, my brother was trying to discipline Savion, and they have a video recording that's showing that my son turned the phone around to provoke my nephew. I mean my brother. And Savion, he's a very smart child.
Proceed.
But
Before you proceed, what do you want me to do with the Rodney trailer?
To get anger management along with my son. I need my son to have a
do you have any issue with trailer having contact with the Bradley?
No.
Okay.
That's Savion. That's the Rodney house.
Then the bond's already set that way. There's no issue with the bond. He can be released, and he is required to have no violent contact with Savion.
Okay.
All right.
But can I speak to someone about my son, for his, for him?
All right. You can contact Miss Jenks.
McJenks. Okay.
Rachel Jenks, if you want to contact about the defendant.
No, Judge, she's asking for help for her son.
Yeah, for my son, because my son's always
not for my client, Judge.
Yeah, my son always called the police, and he's abused his right.
Then you need to either talk to a mental health evaluator or take him to the hospital.
My son just like to abuse, calling the law, and it's not okay.
Ms. Trailer, understood, but
yes,
your son is not subject to any criminal prosecution, so you need to contact a professional if you need help with your son.
Okay,
Your son is only a victim in this case. I cannot order him to do anything. I cannot order you to do anything.
okay, thank you so much, Judge.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, Ms. Jenks and courtroom 2, who do we have next?
Number 28.
All right, is our Spanish interpreter back? Miss Lucia? Is she
Yes,
back?
Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. I'm here.
All right, and courtroom 1, courtroom 2, I'll be right with you. Who do we have in courtroom 1?
We have Mr. Franklin Cruz, position number 8.
Okay, is that the one that requires a Spanish interpreter?
Yeah, well, both of them do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And the
right.
other one is position 7, Miss Camacho.
All right, let's begin with Franklin. Oh, okay, you play.
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter, one or the other. Okay. All right, Miss Yennefer Camacho, oh, sorry, Miss Lucia, do you solemnly swear and affirm the interpretation you provide will be a true and accurate translation with no changes or embellishments?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. This announcement is going to go to both the defendants in courtroom 1.
Este anuncio es para ambas personas que hablan español en el Tribunal 1.
You are both charged with misdemeanor offenses with the State Court of Fulton County.
Los dos tienen acusaciones de delitos menores con el condado de Fulton.
You have a right to remain silent during the course of this virtual proceeding.
Durante el transcurso de este proceso, ustedes tienen el derecho de permanecer en silencio.
Anything you choose to say during this proceeding that's not only recorded and live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case.
Si es que ustedes dicen algo, primero esta audiencia está siendo grabada. Otra cosa es que se puede ver desde el exterior, o sea, desde fuera de esta audiencia. Y cualquier cosa que ustedes digan puede ser y será usada en contra de ustedes.
You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you.
Tienen el derecho de tener un abogado. Si no pueden tener un abogado, si no pueden costear un abogado se les dará.
The first case we are addressing is State versus Yennefer Camacho, accused of battery family violence.
El primer caso que vamos a escuchar va a ser el de Yennefer Camacho con la acusación de agresión y violencia doméstica.
Case number is 24CR7863J, and the incident date is November 28th, 2024.
El número de caso es el 24CR007863J y la fecha de la ofensa fue el 28 de noviembre del 2024.
Any prior on with regards to Ms. Camacho, Ms. Washington?
Y la juez pide si es que existe algún historial previo de la señora Camacho.
This is the defendant's second arrest. The last arrest was in August of this year for alien inadmissibility, which appears to be open with ICE.
Este es el segundo arresto de esta acusada. El primer arresto fue el 24 de agosto y es un caso de inmigración por no tener papeles.
The defendant meets the criteria for UJR jail, nothing further.
Ms. Bickerstaff, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, for the battery family violence charge, the state's recommended a $3,000 surety bond. I'm asking for no further contact with Mr. Eric Meza, that's spelled E-R-I-C-K, Meza, M-E-Z-A, to have third-party transfers with their child, for the defendant to enroll in 4 hours of anger management, as well as stay away from the incident location of 843B Roswell Creek Circle. Just briefly, Your Honor, on Thanksgiving Day, yesterday, at the incident location, officers spoke with Mr. Eric Mesa, who advised that one of his female friends invited him over for drinks, and the defendant got angry. The defendant began scratching him on his arms and chest, and the officer did note injuries. Mr. Mesa told officers that he held her down so she could stop attacking him, and the defendant bit him, and the officer noted blood on his nose from that.
Okay, please pause. I'm so sorry. Miss Lucia has to translate everything you just said.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Miss Lucia, do you
That's
need
about
us
me.
to repeat it?
I've got it. I just need the address, please, again. 843 what?
It's 843B, Roswell Creek Circle.
Okay. Okay. En cuanto a la fiscalía, lo que la fiscalía le está exponiendo a la juez es que el día de ayer en Thanksgiving, en la dirección del 843B Roswell Creek Circle, la policía fue llamada. Cuando la policía fue llamada, el señor Eric Mesa habló con la policía y dijo que él había sido invitado por una amiga a tomar algunas bebidas y que la acusada lo atacó a él, incluso mordiéndole, y la policía notó que existía sangre afuera de la nariz. Lo que la fiscalía está pidiendo es que le den una salida, que le dejen salir bajo fianza asegurada con $3,000, que existan una tercera parte, una tercera persona, como quien dice, para que transfiera el hijo o la hija que tienen del uno a la otra parte. Y también están pidiendo que tome un curso de 4 horas para manejo de la ira.
Ms. Bickerstaff, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Eric Mesa, to have a third-party transfer of their child, to enroll in 4 hours of anger management, and to stay away from the incident location.
Thank you.
La recomendación de la fiscalía es una fianza asegurada con un bono de $3,000. No contacto, ningún contacto con el señor Eric Mesa. Una orden de permanecer lejos de la dirección mencionada. Que haya una tercera persona para efectos de cuidados y transferencias de su hija o hijo, y la clase de 4 horas para manejo de la ira.
Your Honor, I would like to sound for Mr. Mesa at the appropriate time. Our office was able to speak to him, and he confirmed the events in the warrant, and he also stated that this is not the first time that the defendant has been violent towards him. He told our office that when they lived in Venezuela together, she was also violent towards him.
Me parece que la fiscalía indica que tal vez el señor Mesa se encuentra presente, que la policía pudo constatar con él los hechos en la orden de arresto, y él estuvo de acuerdo con esos hechos, y que él, aparte de eso, indicó que esta no es la primera vez que esto sucede, que cuando vivían en Venezuela también la acusada mostraba violencia y agresión hacia él.
Mr. Eric Mesa, if you would like to contribute to the proceeding, please unmute and start your video.
El señor Eric Mesa, si puede prender su micrófono y su cámara, por favor. Si quiere decir algo en el juzgado. Y la cámara también necesita prender.
Okay.
Take your hat off.
Necesita sacarse su gorra.
Okay.
And lift your device so that it's facing you.
Y levante su teléfono para que le esté viendo hacia el frente, o la computadora, lo que sea, para que lo vea al frente.
Un segundito, está bien. Okay.
Have anything to add? No? Okay. Anything to add?
¿Tiene usted algo más que decir aparte de lo que ha sido dicho ya?
Raise your right.
Levante su mano derecha. Levante su mano derecha.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
¿Jura usted que el testimonio que nos va a dar el día de hoy será la verdad, solo la verdad y nada más que la verdad de lo que usted sabe?
Sí.
Yes, puede bajar su mano.
Do you share any children with Miss Camacho?
¿Tiene hijos con la señora Camacho?
Sí, tengo una hija.
How
Yes, I
many
have a daughter. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
How many children?
¿Cuántos hijos?
Uno.
Yes, one daughter.
Right? And are you married to Miss Camacho?
¿Están casados legalmente con la señora Camacho?
No, no estamos casados.
No, we're not married.
All right. What would you like to tell us?
¿Qué es lo que nos quiere decir usted?
O sea, ¿qué posibilidad? Porque nosotros no contamos con los recursos. Bueno, yo no cuento con los recursos para pagar los $3,000 para sacarla a ella, pues. Y la única familia que ella tiene aquí soy yo. Y quisiera saber si no hay otra forma de que nos puedan ayudar, pues. Yo sé que yo fui que fue agredido, pero yo no quiero que ella esté presa, pues.
I wanted to find out if there's anything that we can do. I know that I was the person that was the victim, but I don't want her to be in jail. I know I do not have the $3,000 to get her out of jail. I do want her to come out of jail. And I just don't know if there's anything that we can do.
Do you plan to continue living with her?
¿Planea usted continuar viviendo con ella?
No.
No.
Are you going to vacate the house, where was it again? In Roswell?
La casa en donde viven o el apartamento donde viven en Roswell, ¿usted va a salir de ahí?
Sí, yo estoy esperando mi permiso de trabajo casualmente. Ya yo hablé con una prima que está en Miami para que me reciba ahorita cuando llegue mi permiso de trabajo y yo me voy.
I am waiting to get my work permit. I spoke to a cousin who lives in Miami, and once I get my work permit, I will go there.
All right, thank you. Miss Bader, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to start by saying that Ms. Camacho is presumed innocent on these charges, and she does dispute the allegations.
En cuanto a ahora es el turno de la abogada de la defensa que hable con la juez y lo que ella dice es que obviamente la señora Camacho es presuntamente inocente de estas acusaciones.
Our request is that it would be a no further violent contact, so that if they need to speak about their daughter, and we would also request that there is not a stay away to this particular address, so that her 4-year-old daughter's life isn't altered too much. And I understand that Mr. Mesa plans on moving.
Lo que nosotros pediríamos es que en vez de que no se le dé una orden de mantenerse lejos y sea una orden mejor de, en vez de no contacto, ningún contacto violento entre los dos de ninguna parte, y que no necesite permanecer lejos debido a la hija de 4 años de edad.
I'll also briefly add, she's only 23 years old. It doesn't sound like she really has much of a history, and she is gainfully employed. We are asking for a signature bond through pretrial services.
Otra cosa que quisiera añadir es que ella tiene 23 años de edad, que trabaja y que pediríamos una fianza bajo firma únicamente por medio de los servicios del tribunal.
The bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1.
Y la juez, el fallo de la juez es un bono de fianza de $2,500 bajo firma en el nivel 1 con el tribunal.
She must report to pretrial services once a month.
Necesita reportarse una vez al mes a el servicio de previo a juicios con el tribunal. Necesita reportarse al tribunal una vez al mes.
You do not have to pay for the bond at the present time, but you must comply with the following conditions.
No tiene que pagar por la fianza en este momento, pero sí necesitan acatarse a las siguientes condiciones.
You are to have no further violent contact with Mr. Eric Meza, no violent physical altercations, and no verbal altercations.
No pueden tener contacto violento entre los dos con el señor Eric Mesa. No pueden tener ningún altercado físico con el señor Mesa. No pueden tener entre los dos ningún altercado verbal tampoco.
If you're to enroll in a domestic violence program within 30 days of being released, and you can take the program in Spanish.
En los próximos 30 días, en el transcurso de los 30 días, necesita registrarse a un programa anti-violencia doméstica, el cual lo puede cursar en español.
These are 26 weekly classes, and you shall pay for each of those classes out of your own pocket.
Son clases semanales durante el transcurso de 26 semanas y necesita pagar eso de su propio bolsillo.
No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms.
No puede beber bebidas alcohólicas, no pueden tener un arma y no pueden tener drogas o estupefacientes ilegales.
Your next court date will be sent to your Park Ridge address in Roswell.
La siguiente cita que necesita regresar a la corte, al tribunal acá, va a ser mandada por correo a la dirección de Park Ridge en Roswell.
If you change your address, you must update the court in writing immediately upon your address being changed.
Si se cambia de casa, necesita notificar al tribunal en cuanto usted se cambie para que el tribunal tenga su dirección.
If you violate any of these conditions, including the no further violent contact,
si es que existe una violación de cualquiera de estas condiciones, incluyendo la de no contacto violento entre los dos,
your signature bond will be revoked and amended to a cash bond or a surety bond.
Esta fianza que ahorita se le está dando bajo firma va a ser cambiada inmediatamente a una fianza bajo pago en efectivo.
Thank you.
Gracias, eso es todo.
Thank you.
Next case is State versus Franklin Cruz. Mr. Mesa, you're free to go.
Señor Mesa, puede retirarse. El siguiente caso es del Estado, la Fiscalía, en contra del señor Franklin Cruz.
Mr. Cruz is accused of criminal trespass from November 28, 2024, under case number 24 CR 7843E.
El señor Cruz está siendo acusado de allanamiento de morada. El caso es del 24 CR 007843E con una fecha de ofensa del 28 de noviembre del 2024.
Mr. Cruz, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Bader.
Señor Cruz, a usted le hemos dicho ya su derecho de permanecer en silencio y su abogada va a ser la señora Bader.
Any priors with regards to Mr. Cruz?
Y la juez pregunta si es que hay alguna de sus antecedentes previos del señor Cruz.
This is the defendant's first arrest, and he meets the criteria for UJR jail.
What?
Y no hay ningún antecedente, este es el primer arresto del señor Cruz, del acusado.
And just to clarify, Mr. Cruz is accused of trespass causing damage to personal property.
Y para asegurarnos, el cargo del señor Cruz, la acusación es allanamiento de morada y daño a propiedad física.
Ms. Bickerstaff, what's the recommendation?
Your Honor, the state's recommendation is a $1,500 surety bond for Mr. Cruz to take 4 anger management classes and to have no contact with Yenny Lopez, that's spelled Yeni, Lopez, and to stay away from the incident location, 5555 Roswell Road. I would like to sound for Ms. Lopez if she's on Zoom.
Ms. Lucy?
La fiscalía, lo que la fiscalía está aconsejando a la corte es una fianza asegurada con un bono de $1,500 una clase de manejo de la ira de 4 horas, no tener ningún contacto en absoluto con la señora Jenny López y también mantenerse alejado de la dirección 5555 Roswell Road. Y en este momento quieren saber si la señora López está tal vez en la llamada de Zoom. Si la señora Jenny López o alguien relacionado con este caso está en la llamada de Zoom, por favor, si pueden abrir su cámara y prender su micrófono. Your Honor, after the interpretation, the interpreter did sound off for Ms. Lopez.
No one's responding. Anything else, Ms. Bickerstaff?
No, nothing, Your Honor.
Ms. Bade?
Yes, Judge. The allegations in the warrant in this case are facts that point more towards a danger to himself rather than a danger to Ms. Lopez.
Y en cuanto ahora la juez pide de la abogada defensora, quien indica que los hechos en este caso indican más hacia el hecho de que el señor es un peligro para él mismo, no para otras personas.
Judge, I believe his name is on the lease at this particular apartment. And Ms. Lopez's name is not on the lease.
Y en cuanto al contrato de arrendamiento de este departamento, está a nombre del acusado y no a nombre de la señora López.
Ms. Lopez was his phone call that he made, and she indicated to him that she would like contact as she understood the mental health situation on his part, and wants contact as far as I'm aware.
De lo que nosotros sabemos, el señor, el acusado usó su llamada telefónica para llamarle a la señora López y según lo que nos indica, ella quiere mantenerse en contacto con él.
Either way, Judge, we believe that a signature bond is appropriate in this case. This is a criminal trespass damage to property case. It is his first arrest. And so, Judge, we're asking for a signature bond. We respectfully request that he doesn't have a stay away and it's no further violent contact. But he does have a backup address if absolutely necessary, in order to ensure that he gets a signature bond.
Y lo que nosotros estamos pidiendo es una fianza bajo firma únicamente que pueda regresar él a esa casa, a esa dirección, una orden de no contacto violento.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz has a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. He'll be reporting to pretrial once a month.
El señor Cruz tiene una orden de fianza bajo firma únicamente de $2,000, pero necesita reportarse mensualmente, una vez al mes, al tribunal.
He is to stay away from 55 Roswell Road, Sandy Springs, the entire apartment complex.
La orden judicial es que se mantenga alejado, lejos de el 5555 Roswell Road, no solo del departamento, sino del complejo de apartamentos completamente.
He is allowed a one-time visit to the apartment with a police officer. He must be accompanied by a police officer, and this is to retrieve his personal belongings.
Tiene permiso para regresar solo una vez a ese departamento y debe ser acompañado con un policía. Y esa ocasión es únicamente para que saque sus pertenencias.
He must update the court with his new mailing address within 30 days of being released from jail.
Y durante el transcurso de los primeros 30 días después de ser dejado salir de la cárcel, necesita llegar a la corte y darnos la nueva dirección donde vive.
No further contact with Yenny Lopez, and he's to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner.
La orden judicial incluye ningún contacto en absoluto con la señora Jenny López, debe mantenerse a un mínimo de 200 yardas lejos de ella siempre y no puede ni siquiera hablar con ella.
Within 14 days of being released, he must obtain a MH or behavioral health evaluation and submit himself to any treatment or counseling that's required.
Durante los primeros 14 días, después de ser dejado salir de la cárcel, necesita reportarse a una evaluación de salud mental y cursar cualquier tratamiento que sea indicado como resultado de esa evaluación.
He can obtain the evaluation from any qualified healthcare provider.
Y puede obtener esa evaluación de cualquier lugar médico, cualquier proveedor médico que las haga.
His next court date will be sent to his new mailing address.
Su siguiente fecha de la corte va a ser enviada a su nueva dirección cuando nos la dé.
And he must resolve his housing situation with his landlord via the phone or on his visit with a police officer.
Necesita resolver su situación, el hecho de que usted está en el contrato con el dueño o la administración de los departamentos por teléfono o el día que usted vaya con la policía. Puede regresar después.
And explain to them why he cannot live at that complex due to a criminal court order.
Y les puede explicar que usted no puede vivir en ese complejo de apartamentos debido a una orden judicial criminal.
That concludes this case. Thank you.
Y eso es todo para este caso. Gracias. And Your Honor, if that is all my business for this court, may I be excused?
Yes, I believe so. Courtroom 2, do we have any other cases requiring a Spanish interpreter?
No.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lucia. You enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. You as well.
All right. Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Number 28, Mr. Watt.
Oh, dear. And Ms. Jenks, we got your waiver of appearance for Mr. Myers, so we'll address that shortly.
Okay,
But right
great.
now, we have Joe Watt, accused of battery family violence from November 27th of this year under case number 24 CR 7856D. Mr. Watt, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Jenks. I'm sorry, I got a little thrown off. I see another Joe Watt on the Zoom panel, so not sure who that is.
And maybe his father.
Okay. Ms. Washington, any priors with the defendant in courtroom 2?
No, this is a defendant's first arrest and he meets the criteria for UJR jail. Nothing further.
Mr. Ham, yes. Any recommendation?
1 second, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $5,000 signature bond through the jail to have no further contact with Tiana Galtway, to stay away from the incident location, Your Honor. The victim is supposed to be present on the case, Your Honor. Online.
Okay.
So we can sound for her.
Go ahead.
But the incident happened on October 11, 2023 at 2214 South Street, 2214th Street in Atlanta, Georgia. At 740 Sickney Marcus Boulevard in Atlanta, Georgia, 30324. The victim indicated that the defendant got into a fight with her. She was trying to escape. He restrained her and punched her and bit her in the face. We were able to reach the victim. She indicated that her and the defendant are no longer in a relationship together. They have no children in common. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that this is not the first time the defendant has been violent towards her, but this is the first time she called the police. She also stated that she is not sure if she's in fear of her life right now because he has been arrested and she's not sure how he's going to react once he gets released from custody. So based upon that, she wants no contact with him and for him to stay away from that location. He will need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. And that is the state's recommendation, Your Honor.
Miss Tiana Gawaltney and I guess Mr. Joe Watt Sr., I'll let you speak shortly, but Miss Gawaltney, if you want to address the court, this is the time to start your video and unmute. I saw someone appear, but I wasn't sure who that was. Okay. Mr. Joe Watts Sr., if you want to unmute and start your video. All right. Miss Jenks, anything to add?
Yes, Judge. And I mean, I know Mr. Watts Sr. wrote something in the chat stating that he wanted to speak. Mr. Watts Sr., if you're there, you need to turn your video on and speak. We see you're unmuted.
I don't think he has audio either, so.
Okay. All right, Judge. Mr. Watt is 22, Judge. He did graduate from high school. He also attended some college at Kennesaw State in the field of essentially, it's like what did he say? It's like automated electronics. It's mechatronics. It's an engineering program. He does work full-time for Primerica. It's a software testing analysis. He does software testing analysis for them. He's been working since the beginning of year there. Prior to that, he was a project engineer at Sanska. He stated that he denies the allegations as stated in the arrest warrant. He stated that actually the alleged victim in this case, who suffers from some serious mental illness, had a scissors and actually had initially attacked him. He has no problem staying away from her in terms of no further contact order. And we are asking you to follow the recommendation of both the state and pretrial in terms of a signature bond.
Okay. Mr. Watts, if you can unmute if you want to address the court.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Raise your hand.
Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
What would you like to tell us?
First of all, I'd like to apologize for the court's time and apologize for my son in this incident. What I'd like to say is that this issue has been ongoing. My son actually has a lease at the apartment. This incident seems to come up every now and then. He's asked the victim
What
and
incident?
them getting into an altercation.
Oh, then I would not recommend you speak any further.
Well, I'm not speaking to the merits of the case. I'm just saying I witness arguments on the phone all the time. Them both calling me on the phone all the time. And my son has a lease there, and she's left many times, but continues to return to the house.
And according to the warrant, they both advised they have been in a relationship and have been living together since May 2022.
Yes, ma'am. She's off and on. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am. Asking for signature bond. Joe is employed. Does need to return to work. Sure he doesn't have the money to pay for a bond. Been struggling with finances and that sort of thing. Yes, ma'am.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes,
On battery family violence, that's going to be a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. You'll report to pretrial services once a month once you're released on a signature bond. You're to have no further contact with Tiana or Tina Gawaltney. And as long as Ms. Gawaltney still occupies the premises, you are to stay away from the entire complex at 740 Sydney Marcus Boulevard in Atlanta, Georgia. You can return one time only with a law enforcement officer to retrieve your personal belongings and to square it away with your leasing office or your landlord that you're not allowed to stay at that property due to a criminal bond order. You're to,
Excuse me, sorry.
all right. You are to
Hello.
attend and complete one anger awareness class and no contact with Ms. Gwaltney, stay away from the location, one-time visit. Oh, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Okay, I have someone called Tiana who's just appeared. If you'd like to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
I had got kicked out of the meeting. I had told the solicitor that called me that I wanted to say something.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
What would you like to say?
I would like to recommend a mental health check.
Are you a mental therapist, a physical therapist? I mean, a therapist and a counselor?
No,
Psychologist?
I was
Okay,
just
stop. In your personal experience, has Mr. Watt ever been a patient of any kind of MH or BH treatment?
No.
All right, stop right there. Now, next question. Are you still an occupant of 740 Sydney Marcus Boulevard?
Yes.
All right. So Mr. Watt has a signature bond. Whether he decides to obtain any kind of treatment is something entirely up to him and his family. He's required to stay away from the location where you live. He's allowed a one-time visit to retrieve his personal belongings. He is to update the court with his new address within 30 days of being released. And he is to undergo a one-day anger awareness program. These conditions will remain in place until the final outcome of this case. Thank you. Mr. Watt, you have a signature bond. I highly recommend you exercise your right to remain silent. Please unmute courtroom 2.
I agree with that. Sir, I'm not sure what you would need to speak about at this point. You have a signature bond, sir. If I know that the lease is in your name, you will have to see if you can terminate that lease through the leasing company or what have you, or see if there's some way you can sublet it. But you'll not be able to return there if Tiana's there.
Yeah, I know that. I was gonna ask, am I allowed to return if she leaves? Or should I just leave the apartment?
She hasn't indicated that she has left, that she plans to leave. So no, you cannot leave the property.
Okay.
But you can terminate the lease through the leasing company.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Next case, please. Courtroom 2, do we have any other cases in courtroom 2? Because I can't see the entire gallery. So.
Not in courtroom 2, no, we don't.
All right, I'm just going to go to ACDC. All right, we're going to begin with, let me see.
Position number 6, Ms. Bullock.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. W. Milton. This is State versus Evangeline Bullock, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property in case 24 CR 7842C. Ms. Bullock and the other young lady seated there, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Presently, Ms. Bullock, your attorney is going to be Ms. Bader. Any priors on Ms. Bullock, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the defendant's third arrest. The last arrest was in 2017 for DUI in Fayette County. That case was no pros. The other cycle was from the 80s that was dismissed. The defendant does meet the criteria for UJR jail. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation in this case is a $1,500 surety bond. I'm asking for no further contact with Tyrone Dowry. Tyrone, common spelling, Dowry, D as in dog, OWRY. For the defendant to enroll in 4 anger management courses and to stay away from 174 Lakeview Place and to have a third-party transfer with their child. Your Honor, just briefly, on November 27th, officers responded to the incident location, and the caller, Mr. Tyrone Dowry, told officers that his ex-girlfriend, the defendant, was banging on his door. He told officers that he didn't want to deal with her, and that the relationship was getting out of hand. Officers did speak to the defendant and saw that she was in her car and asked her what's going on. She stated that she did break a towel and that she just wanted to speak to the defendant. Your Honor, we were able to speak to the defendant today.
You
He
mean
told
victim?
I'm not the defendant, yes, the victim. I'm sorry, thank you. He told our office that they're in a relationship, but they do not live together and they share a child. He also stated that he didn't want the defendant to go to jail, and he didn't wish to press any charges, but he stated that there was a towel already broken. That's what he said today, which is different from what he told the officers on the 27th. So that is the reason for the state's recommendation. If Mr. Dowry is on Zoom, I would like to sound for him at the appropriate time.
Mr. Tyrone Dowry, please unmute and start your video that I see you're here by iPhone.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Start your video.
Yes, ma'am. Can you see me?
Nope.
You can't see me?
Mr. Jordan,
Start video.
stop the video. All
Okay,
right.
is it on now?
Yes, please raise your
Yes,
right
ma'am.
hand.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is the child that you share with Miss Bullock?
He's 18.
18 years old.
Yes, ma'am. And Your Honor, the facts of this case, Your Honor, is
The decision of whether to prosecute Miss Bullock for this charge is entirely with the prosecutor. It's not
yes,
with. All right.
ma'am.
And that's all I need to know from you.
Yes, ma'am. I understand, but I just wanted to give you the facts, Your Honor.
I
She
just
was
want
not. She was not trespassing, Your Honor.
Stop.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Bader is going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail and no further violent contact with Tyrone Dowry. She needs to maintain a current mailing address. They can still continue with their parenting plan for this 18-year-old that should not be subject to one anymore. And we'll see you at the next court date. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I believe he's in the Air Force, so, but thank you.
All right, thank you.
Petition number 9, Ms. Durden.
Okay. This is LaShawna Nicole Durden, accused of the following 8 misdemeanor offenses stemming from a traffic incident from November 27th, 2024. They are as follows: speeding, attempting to misrepresent a tag, knowingly driving a vehicle on a canceled, suspended, or revoked registration, no automobile insurance, possession of an open alcohol container, driving while license suspended or revoked, driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, and the 8th charge is giving false information to a law enforcement officer. You have a right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Bader. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a defendant's 11th arrest. The last arrest was in September of last year for driving while license suspended or revoked. No disposition was listed. In 2011, there was an arrest for driving while license suspended or revoked in Fayette County. No disposition listed. First offender treatment in 2011 for by shoplifting that was sealed in 2020. In 2020, the defendant pled no to driving while license suspended or revoked out of Clayton County. 2022 misdemeanor conviction for theft by shoplifting out of Cobb County. A 2022 arrest for driving without a valid license and willful obstruction in Cobb County. No disposition was listed. There appears to be 3 open cases, one from 2022 for an ID theft and infliction of pain on a disabled or elder out of Fayette County, a open case in DeKalb from 2023 for driving while license suspended or revoked, knowingly driving on a suspended registration, purchase, possession, or sale of marijuana, possession of a Schedule I controlled substance, and possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. A separate 2023 arrest for driving while license suspended or revoked out of DeKalb County.
Oh,
There is a hold.
That's good. Where's the hole? I'm sorry.
It is in Marietta, Cobb County for an FTA, and that warrant date is from February of this year.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff, anything else to add?
Your Honor, nothing else to add. The state's recommendation for count 1, the speeding, is a $100 cash bond. This is due to the officer on November 27th, 2024. The officer said he clocked the defendant driving about 77 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. For count 2, there's for counts 2, 3, and 4, the state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond. Your Honor, for count 5, the state is asking for a $100 cash bond. For count 6, the state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond. For count 7, the DUI less safe, a $1,500 surety bond. And lastly, for count 8, the state is asking for a $100 cash bond. So just briefly, Your Honor, when the officer conducted the traffic stop for the speeding violation and asked the defendant for her driver's license, she told officers she did have a license, but she didn't have it on her, and she showed the officer a picture of a license by the name before the person named Kayana Thompson. The officer conducted or pulled up that name and saw that that was not the person that he had stopped. After getting the correct information from the defendant, the officer gathered during his investigation that her license had been suspended 4 times and that she had the warrant out in Cobb County. The car did not have insurance on it. When the officer ran the VIN number on the car, it did not match the car that she was driving. The officer also found a open bottle of Jose Cuervo tequila in the car, and the officer noted, and when at his official stop, not his official, but initial stop, that she smelled of alcohol, Your Honor. So that is the reason for the state's recommendation, the split bond. I believe it's a $300 cash bond and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $5,500 surety bond. Also, the state is asking that the defendant not drive a car without a up-to-date valid license, a proper tag registration, and insurance on any vehicle that she drives, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Which charge has been NOD'd? I see 9 charges on expired on no registration or title. Was that
the last charge that she was initially charged with? Let me find it.
It's the expired or no registration of title. Okay,
Yes.
got that one. Okay. Ms. Bader, any recommendation?
Yes, Judge. We are recommending a $1,000 surety bond on the DUI less safe and a signature bond on the rest. A little bit about Ms. Durden. She is 42 years old. She rents a house in Riverdale, Georgia, and lives there with her 6 daughters and granddaughter. She is a widow, so she is providing for everybody essentially by herself. She's been in Georgia since she was 18. She had just gotten a new job as a manager at Wendy's. Her new job would have started on Monday, and she also runs a cleaning business again to provide for her family, especially since her husband is deceased now. Judge, she does have a couple more stops along the way.
She's got the Marietta hold. Yeah, I've got that.
Okay. She's hoping her eldest daughter can post bond, but again, more than $1,000. I don't believe that this family will be able to make that. So she does have a couple more stops along the way, and we're asking you to consider that. Thank you.
Okay. On each count is going to be $1,000. That's an $8,000 surety bond in total. And if she does make bond, it is a release to the Cobb County hold only. She's absolutely not allowed to drive, irrespective of what her current status is with DDS. The only way she'll be allowed to drive is once this bond order is amended, and there must be proof that she has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and correct registration for the vehicle that she operates in order for the bond order to be amended to lift the no driving. Her next court date is going to be December 12th.
Say something. Say something.
I think, yes, Ms. Durden?
Yes, ma'am. I know that the driving situation, I know that it appears bad or what have you, but the only reason I asked for a bond that's lower is because it's just my older daughter. You know, she's 23 and she has her 4-year-old daughter as well that she's tended to. And she's trying to watch out there, you know,
Ms.
her younger
Durden,
sister.
I understand the attorneys have already argued your family life. My concern is that you have blatantly disregarded the law in the last few years, and I have no assurance that you will comply with the conditions if I lower the bond. So this bond is a reflection of your criminal history record and your inability to comply with the law.
I will. I promise that I'll abide
I'm
with it.
sorry, your record does not.
A little bit, so she
No,
can
ma'am.
be able to put through what she.
No, ma'am. Your record does not indicate any assurances that you will comply. Thank you. Deputy Milton, you said I had a third case, Ms. Fonton.
Yes, yes, I have to go down to the pod and get the lieutenant's cell phone, county phone, so I can put her on Zoom because the officer had a little issue with her earlier this morning.
Okay, we'll wait for you while we go over our calendar. We have, I think, a waiver to address as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Do we know about Mr. Nelson?
Mr. Nelson, he's in Cobb County. They're gonna do a production order to have him transported.
Okay, so for position 21, Mr. Nelson, he's going to be reset to tomorrow, Saturday, November 30th. And if he's not available till then we'll see him on Monday.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, moving to Mr. Meyer, I think we had a waiver of appearance. Ms. Jenks has submitted that waiver. So,
Yeah, I CC'd Jamel. I wasn't sure which prosecutor was handling it.
all right.
Him.
So position number 19 is Charles, that's CHARL Meyer, with possession of dangerous drugs from March 14th, 2024, accusation 24 CR 7836C, represented by Ms. Rachel Jenk, who has waived his appearance. Any priors, Ms. Washington?
Yes, this is the 11th arrest. The last arrest was in March of this year for an FTA. No prior drug convictions listed. However, there was a 2013 theft by deception misdemeanor conviction, 2016 DUI, as well as a 2013 theft by shoplifting, one FTA in 2024, and the defendant does meet the criteria for level 2.
Where is the FTA from?
I believe that's from Douglas.
Does he have a hold?
Oh, I'm sorry. There is a hold out of Wisconsin for disorderly conduct, and that's from 2014.
Out of where? I'm sorry, what did you say?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin?
Yes, from 2014 for disorderly conduct.
Any objection to a $500 surety bond from either side?
I mean, I was going to ask for a signature bond, Judge. I have, yeah, I have some information about him.
No objection from me. I'm trying to figure out why this is not a felony if he was
That's
in
what
possession. of a fentanyl. So I'm
Oh.
not even sure why this is even a misdemeanor.
Mr. Ham, you can contact your contact people in, which office which you're supposed to contact. That's a long-winded way of saying you can contact the DA's office, but
Yes.
And Judge, I think he's actually
500 signature bond through the jail with a
Okay.
release to any pending holds.
Thank you.
So if he's got that Wisconsin hold, Mr. Ham, you've got a little time to see what the DA's office wants to do.
Are you actually seeing the Wisconsin hold on his like somewhere in the paperwork?
Ms. Washington, I'm pulling it up right now. I don't recall one, but
It's showing up on the GCIC, and like I said, it's from 2014, but I'm not sure if it's showing on Odyssey.
Okay. It says that's a $500 signature bond through the jail, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Position 1 on Travis Bell, that's a 2,500 surety bond reset to December 12th. I'm sorry, that was a $1,500 surety bond, and position 2 was a $1,000 surety bond. So both these cases is a total of 2,500 surety reset to December 12th. Position 3, Cameron Braggs. Do we know what's going on? Anyone spoke to Cameron Braggs?
It's my understanding, I spoke to courtroom too, and he had felony first appearance as well today, and they said they handled the misdemeanor as well.
Okay, so is the state going to proceed with the criminal trespass, or that's just going to be combined with the felony case?
Well, Your Honor, if the DA's office handled the misdemeanor, they can just keep the misdemeanor.
Okay, so you're going to null cross this on the grounds that it's with the felony case?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so please submit a null cross on this one. Okay, indicating that it's a duplicate to his felony case. Okay, thank you. Position 4, Cheryl Brennan Johnson.
She's a medical reset.
All right, so this is going to be reset to November 30th, pending whether she's able to appear tomorrow. Position 5, Bryant, is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2 with a release to his hold. Position 6, Bullock, is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. 7, Kamacho, is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. Excuse me, $2,500 signature bond through pretrial. 2,500. That was for Camacho. Position 8, Cruz, is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1. Position 9, Durden, is a $8,000 surety bond released to her Cobb County or Marietta hold. Position 10, Fontenot, we are holding on that. Position 11, Folz, is a $4,000 split bond, reset date December 12th. Position 12, Gibson, is a, I didn't write it down. Somebody tell me. Oh, that was Mr. Gibson. I believe that was a $5,000 surety bond. Reset date December 12th, along with his other open case, 24 CR 7256J. Ms. Washington, is pretrial automatically surrender that bond, or do I need to do an order?
No, we're going to surrender it, I believe.
Okay. Thank you. 13, Grant, is a 4,500 surety bond, reset December 12th. 14, Laventure, is a 2,500 surety bond, reset December 12th. 15, Lemon, is a signature bond, I believe, but I didn't write it down.
It was 1,500 on the simple battery, 1,000 on the theft by taking for pretrial.
So 2,500 signature bond through pretrial. Was it level 1?
Level 1. Yeah.
I didn't write that part down.
He didn't say a level,
Yeah,
but he
level 1.
recommended for UJR jail.
Okay, level 1 will be fine. Thank you. 16 Matthews is a 2,500 surety bond, reset December 12. 17 McGathy is $1,000 surety, reset to December 12. 18 McCrae is $1,000 surety, reset to December 12. 19 Myers, a 500 signature bond through the jail with a release to the Wisconsin hold or any other holds he may have. 20 Milton's a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. 21 Kasim Nelson is reset to tomorrow at 2 p.m. 22 is a $5,000 cash bond reset to December 12. And I think we'll address this other case as well, 24 CR 007854F. 23 Primc is a $1,500 surety bond reset to December 12th. 24 is a $5,000 signature, 2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 with 1 day anger awareness. Is that correct? Okay.
That's what I.
Yes.
Okay. Position 25, Ross Jr. is a $500 surety bond on the criminal trespass, reset December 12th, and count 2 sale of a martyr token is a UJR.
Do we need amounts on the second charge, Judge?
Exactly what I was thinking. Mr. Jordan, I'll go ahead and set that as a $100 UJR.
You don't have to, Judge, on the UJL.
I don't have
It's
to?
on the signature bond. No.
I'm still of 2 minds about what I should, but I'll go with Mr. Jordan's recommendation.
Okay.
Position 26, Derek Sharp is a $1,000 surety, reset to December 12. 27 trailer is I didn't write that down, something to do with, I think it was a signature bond to pretrial for 1.
Yeah, $2,000 signature bond for pretrial.
Okay. And no further violent contact with Bradley. Okay.
Right.
28, Joe Watt is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial. And 29, Weaver is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Your Honor, can you go back to position 22? What was the amount on that?
22. And that was a $5,000 cash bond reset to December 12th. And we're going to address this other state court case, 24 CR 007854F. That's the case that he has now. Oh, he has the other 2 other open felony cases.
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah.
Thank
you. Is Deputy Milton back in? Okay, there she is. I'm sorry, Deputy Milton, if you could unmute, please.
All right.
Go ahead.
One second, Your Honor. I'm going to get her, going up to the floor now.
All right. We can mute Lieutenant Roberson while we are waiting.
Oh, this is, I'm borrowing her phone.
All right.
Okay.
Can
you go with
Miss? And do any of the prosecutors or defense attorneys have any questions at this?
124.
No.
Okay.
All right. We'll just be in a brief recess until Miss Fonton appears. Okay. Thank you. And who's representing her, by the way? Is that you, Miss Jenks? Miss Biden?
I am, Your Honor.
Ms. Batters.
All right. We'll be in a brief recess. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
We ready, Your Honor? Open the.
She's very combative.
Okay.
If she comes out.
Your Honor?
Yes, Lieutenant.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Fontenot. My name is Judge Law. I'm going to briefly address your case. If you would just remain silent while we do that, it will certainly help matters move forward. So please remember, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say during this proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and presently representing you is Ms. Aya Bader. Your case number is 24 CR 7862E. You have been charged with criminal trespass from November 27, 2024. Ms. Washington, any priors with Ms. Fontenot?
Yes, this is the defendant's 10th arrest. The last arrest was in September of this year for willful obstruction and criminal trespass, which appeared to be null prize. There was a 2022 misdemeanor conviction for battery family violence and a 2016 misdemeanor conviction for false report of a crime in Clayton County. There are 2 FTAs, one in 2023 and 2024. There does appear to be an open case in Superior Court for felony willful obstruction, battery family violence, battery against a police officer, and that was from 2022, and the defendant does meet the criteria for level 3.
Ms. Bickerstaff, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, it's a $2,000 signature on bond through pretrial services and to stay away from the incident location, 3160 Greenbrier Parkway. The state's recommendation is a $2,000 signature on bond due to the defendant's FTA history. Just briefly, Your Honor, on November 27th of this year at the incident location, officers were flagged down and they spoke to Mr. Patel, and he advised that he asked the defendant to get off the property. However, she refused, and then officers asked her to get off the property as well, and she refused to do so. So that resulted in an arrest, and that is the reason for today's recommendation.
Well, because of our recent FTAs, I can't issue a signature bond unless the state consents. So I'm assuming the state doesn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, the state consents.
All right, Ms. Bader, he or she'll be required to stay away from Magic Market at 3160 Greenbrier Parkway. Any objection?
No objection to the signature bond, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Fontenot, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you got $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. You'll need to report to pretrial once a month. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Where's it located?
You're going to get all that information when you're released from jail.
Okay, is it Zoom?
It can be either Zoom or it can be in person, but I'm going to let pretrial tell you that.
It's going to be in a couple of days when I get released?
Within 24 hours.
Okay.
Now listen very carefully. You cannot go back to Magic Market at 3160 Greenbrier Parkway. You cannot go in the store. You cannot go in the parking lot. You cannot be on the sidewalk. You cannot be across the street. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you need to stay away from Mr. Palak Kumar Patel.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If you are seen anywhere there, or if Mr. Patel can see you anywhere near his store, all he has to do is call the police and you'll be welcomed back to Wright Street Jail. Do you understand? All right. Do you have a good mailing address? I have 1900 Wallace Road. Is that still your address?
Yes, ma'am. But can you leave your number on my paperwork? I give you my sister's information.
I'm not sure what you just said because everything got drowned out. It's Wallace.
My mom's getting old. Just said she needs help with the mail. I just want to give you another address too.
Ms. Bade, can you translate? I have no idea what she's saying.
She said that she wants to give you a backup address, but Ms. Fontenot, that's the 1900 Wallace Road is the one that you confirmed with me. So the judge is letting you know that's where court mail going for your next, for notice for your next court date. Okay?
Now, Miss Robertson, if you want the court to use your backup address or you want them to use another address, you need to come down to the court, to the clerk's office and give us your change of address in writing. That's up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
We are only going to send you your notice to whatever address is provided to us at your time you're booked in.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Please stay away from that location and good luck with your case. Thank you. All right, folks, thank you, Deputy Milton. You have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, with regards to Ms. Fontenot, it's a signature bond to pretrial level 1. And anything else? No? All right, everyone, I'll let you all resume your super lightning deals or Black Friday shopping, because I know that is so important at this time of the year. So happy post-Thanksgiving. Hope everybody's come out of their turkey comatose. All right?
Thanks, Judge.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
Take
Mr.
care.
Gordon, you have waiting for your paperwork. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too, Judge.
Bye-bye.
Bye.